You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Buwalda from Dowel Motorsports. I would like to take this time to thank the Eden family and all the sponsors who made this event possible. At this time, will we hear a word from tonight's host?
Good evening. My name is Michael Eden. I am very happy to be with you here tonight. Myself, alongside Jack Daniel Motorsports, are here to bring you this iRacing event at Talladega Superspeedway. Tonight is a 100-lap race. We are here to donate money for my cousin Haley, who is 6 years old and has type 1 diabetes, or TD1 for short. The main foundation for type 1 diabetes is JDRF, or Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, where 70% of the proceeds for this race will go to tonight. Some people, sadly, as young as 2 weeks old and as spring as 70 years old, have passed away from TD1 on my journey in reading for tonight's event. We thank you so much for all the donations and people that are tuning in to watch. Just sit back and relax and enjoy the race. Thank you again.
And now, to give tonight's invocation, Mr. Tony Burt from A Lot Cleaner Property Maintenance.
Racers, please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we are here tonight to remember those lost to juvenile diabetes. We stand before you on this Christmas racing charity event to stop all sufferings of this and other illnesses. We are reminded that we are so fortunate of what we have, and we would like to give all our efforts tonight to juvenile diabetes. We come before you in silence for those who have passed and are fighting still for this disease. We say in your power during this holiday spirit race, we thank you and are humbled by your presence. Please look after us and allow us to have a good time in your name tonight, Lord. And just remember that this is all done because of you. Lord, you have blessed us and allowed us to do things of this nature to raise money for such a great cause. If you could please just watch over us and help us to have clear minds and a great time. Lord, this disease has taken a lot of people, and this money will go towards helping those people that are still fighting this awful disease. Thank you so much for being our Lord and Savior. Amen.
And now, to perform our national anthem, a guitar performance from Billy Wise, accompanied by the piano. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the most famous words in motorsports.
Driver, start your engine!
for the final time in 2022 here on Sim Racing Media. We go truck racing at Talladega here tonight, but tonight it is for a special cause. The Dowel Motorsports charity race, the JDRF 250 here from Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me for the first time is my broadcast partner, Matt Metler. Matt, a great race here tonight, 100 laps at Talladega in the trucks. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a fun night, and it's all for a fantastic cause.
Hey, Dave, Frank, great. Couldn't have said it any better myself. We're here in Earnhardt Country, Talladega, Alabama, and as you said in the intro there, we're doing it for all the right reasons tonight. We're going to use the draft. We're going to be fast, and it's going to be door-to-door action-packed from flag to flag. And I'm pumped up. I can't wait to get this one started. Glad to be alongside you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be an incredible night of racing, and quite a long one here at Talladega tonight to close out the calendar year of 2022 here on Sim Racing Media. Tonight, again, as we had mentioned, we are racing for a cause tonight. We are racing for the JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. There's a couple of links in the description of this race. One of those links, is for the JDRF One Walk. You can donate to that specific. Event, or the one below that is to donate to JDRF as a whole. It is a fantastic cause, one that has been involved in racing in the past. It's been a while, but they have had cars on track in NASCAR, and tonight we get to take them around again.
We certainly do, Frank. And like you said, if you guys can donate, support a great cause here, believe me, the amount doesn't matter. We're certainly looking here for anyone that can step up and help out this great cause. They have racing experience. They're part of the racing family, and we're all out here tonight for all the right reasons. I could not agree with you anymore, sir.
Absolutely. It is just about set to go here. We're just entering the final stages of this practice session here, and Matt, I'm sure you had a great holiday season, but tonight, to end the year off with truck racing here at Talladega, I can't think of anything much better.
No, I can't either, and I'm so thankful and fortunate to be up here in the SRM booth for our final broadcast of the year. We're going to close it out with a bang, but I believe this is our first time working together, Frank. It's been a long time coming. I hope you're fired up and ready, because I sure am.
I absolutely am as well. As we're getting close towards the end here of this practice session, we are expecting it to close any moment here. Right now, as we look through the field, we have 36 drivers that are set to take to the racetrack tonight. Now, there was a paid entry for this race here tonight. 70%, as you heard in the intro video, 70% of the entry fees, of the money collected through entry fees, will be going to the JDRF after this race. There will be prizes for the top three finishers. The winner will get a very nice trophy as we sit here and see it. Second place will get stickers. We'll get a couple of stickers and gloves. Third place should be getting some face masks as well. So racing for a cause, a great cause, plus top three walking away with some pretty nice stuff after tonight.
Phases covered as far as the all phases of racing for a charitable cause are covered. Top three are going to get paid out. We got some great merch and swag lined up for you as well. Frank, let's talk about some of the speeds here for a minute. I'm seeing some pretty competitive lap times here, and like you said, with 34 currently registered drivers in the field, this is going to be a potential nail biter.
Yep, absolutely. Anything can happen here at Talladega on a normal basis. You add a full truck field of 36 drivers. This certainly anything can and will happen tonight. We're taking a look at Stephen Kiefer on track right now Currently third quickest. Only a couple of drivers on track as this practice session starts to wind down. Richard Knight as well on track right now. A couple of guys making solo runs, maybe trying to see where they stand as far as a qualifying effort is concerned, which is going to be coming up here. Oh, I thought it was... okay, my timing is a little messed up there. We got about 7 minutes left to go in this practice session. Now would be the good time, though, to get those qualifying runs in, see if there's anything you could change as far as line and how you could possibly gain momentum.
Yeah, stricter plate racing is kind of like its beast of its own, right, Frank? It's completely different from any other style racing you see out there on the racetrack. We call it the great equalizer. Well, why is that? You know, most times you're watching racing, all you guys on the SRM Chat YouTube channel, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have your favorites. You have the guys in each individual series throughout NASCAR. On any given Sunday, just about, you can almost guarantee there's going to be a handful of those guys up front or inside the top 5. And there's typically drivers that tend towards the middle of the pack or the back of the pack. Talladega is the equalizer because it does just that. It equalizes everybody in the field. If you're starting the race today, Frank, you have a legitimate shot to win. And those come far few and in between in automotive racing these days.
Yeah, absolutely. As we take a look at the 18 of Michael Eden, a couple of guys also taking this opportunity to try to work on getting down pit road. We were watching Wyatt Fink a little bit earlier on. There's David Swift joining the racetrack in the number 85. Now, of these drivers that are taking single car runs, don't expect them to move around the timing sheet all that much, because many of these times that you're seeing, especially the faster ones, were set in the draft. And as you guys know, watching super speedway racing, the draft is going to be key here all night long.
Yeah, I mean, as far as looks can be deceiving, there is no more of a deceiving speed than a single car run out here on a plate track. So don't pay too much attention to these single car runs right now. They're just looking to get a feel for fuel mileage and seeing how their car is going to handle any last minute changes they want to make in the pits or to that specific truck before they go out and make their qualifying lap, as you said, Frank.
The highest running of the drivers in position right now that are actually on track, Nathaniel Dentz in the number 73, currently 5th quickest overall. The 85 of David Swift that we just saw slowly creeping up behind him. 2 cars running together. That would be the 8 of Dylan Bryant and the 63 of Wyatt Fink here. You're not going to be seeing this too much, these small little drafting groups certainly coming out of the pit cycle, and guys maybe falling off of the main group just trying to conserve their car. Still valuable testing to get into a drafting test with at least 1, maybe 2 other drivers instead of being in the big pack.
And you bring up a great point. So many different drivers, which means we're going to see a lot of potential different race strategies play out, right, Frank? Like you said, you're going to have that main core pack, but sometimes if you just, for whatever reason, in race configuration, if you don't have the speed in your truck to hang with that lead pack or those top 3, those top 4 guys, look for, guys to get off sequence. Sometimes you got to outsmart the other guy per se, and a lot of those shots come from the crew chief in the pit box. But there's going to be a lot of different race strategies playing out over the course of this run. We're going to have our work cut out for us tonight, Frank, covering all this high-octane action.
There's going to be a lot of cars all over the place here in this race. Still got about 4 minutes left to go before we get into this qualifying session, and we're starting to see a couple more cars jumping out on track. There's the 29 of Bob Nestor coming out in a group of his own, the 91 of Sean Wilder on his way out. There you see the number 30, or at least number 28 on the truck. There's a familiar name, Brian Tarnowski. Used to seeing him in the Circle B Diecast Superspeedway Series every Friday night. Nice to see him out there pushing. Who is that in the number 21? Is that, how do you pronounce that, Matt? Is it Rigel? Rigel? How do you pronounce that?
Dave Rigel. Sweigel, maybe even. Dave Sweegle. Regal! Hey, that's our guy out there in the truck. How did he get there?
I have no idea who he sweetened the pot for there. But Dave Regal out on track, as you see, supporting Sim Racing Media. Eugenio Alonso in the group here.
Last time sorry to cut you off there, Frank. Last time he was in a holiday race event, he was more matter than a Keebler elf that got demoted to Fudge Packer out there for some incident that happened on the racetrack. So we're going to have to touch base with him over the course of the run tonight just to make sure he's keeping that mental composure all night long. He gets bent out of shape rather quickly.
I want to give an early apology to the number 70 here of Eugenio Alonso. I work in baseball. I am more familiar with baseball names, and when I see Eugenio, I think Eugenio. And when I think Eugenio, I think of the Seattle Mariners third baseman, Eugenio Suarez. So if I call him Eugenio Suarez, I promise that's just muscle memory. So I'm going to apologize immediately, Mr. Alonso. I am sorry if I call you by the wrong name.
Yeah, so many first-time drivers, us just getting a glimpse at some of these different paint schemes, manufacturers. Well, obviously we know the manufacturers. It can happen. We're all human at the end of the day, Franco.
I figured we got the time now. We may as well get the early apologies out of the way. As we see somebody starting to sneak up behind. There's Chris Hubka, another name that we know here very well on Sim Racing Media. About 1 minute and 10 seconds left to go here before we start getting into the qualifying session. Hubka currently 24th fastest of the drivers that have taken time. His fastest lap of 52:35. Again, that was coming in one of the smaller draft packs, but still a draft pack nonetheless. As we're starting to see some guys start to get that last little bit of practice as far as big groups are concerned.
Yeah, this is going to be it. You're coming down to the wire. Any last couple pieces of information your crew chief and the driver want to try to shake out on the racetrack quickly in single car configuration. The time is now. But as you said, Frank, here they come. More and more groups of trucks are making their way down pit road and out onto the speedway at this time.
Only about 20 seconds left to go here before we get into the qualifying session. We thank everyone who is currently watching us here on YouTube. Thank you very much for being a part of this evening. Again, this is a charity race for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. There are 2 links in the description of this stream. One is for a specific cause, the JDRF One Walk, and then the second one is to donate to JDRF as a whole. As far as I know, there's no donation goal set for these guys tonight, but please, any amount of money will certainly help in the fight to try to deal with juvenile diabetes as we get set to go into the qualifying session here. We got a couple of guys out on track, and the first one who is going to take the role is going to be the number 23 of Richard Knight. He will be the first of the 36 drivers we have here tonight that will be on track to qualify.
Yeah, the night time is the right time, and Richard Knight wasted no time setting that precedent as he's going to take that Chevy Silverado out there on the racetrack for his qualifying run. And as we were talking about earlier, Frank, don't be too concerned on that single truck run out there on the racetrack, because we're going to see a substantial increase in the pack at speed on this plate track.
I guess Mr. Knight got a little bit of stage fright as he pulled off on the back straightaway. That will leave Dylan Bryant, the first driver to cross the line to set a time here in the qualifying session in that Pepsi number 8 Toyota Tundra around that outside line. And Matt, we're going to see that a lot out of these guys here tonight, trying to get as much momentum as possible built up. You're going to be wanting to take the longest way around this racetrack as possible. That means the outside line.
Yeah, and especially that gets magnified over the distance of the racetrack, which is, 2.66 miles, if I remember correctly. And you want to talk about a mega interstate infrastructure. I mean, you could literally put 5 cars, side by side. So you have a ton of width to work. So the difference in length from the bottom of the racetrack, if you're hugging that double yellow line up to the wall, I mean, you're adding in some is another, quarter mile to a half mile of track. And every single ounce of speed that you can get out of this truck is critical. We're talking tenths, hundredths of a second, potentially separating the top 10, top 15.
I was unfortunately and unknowingly a part of a 5-wide situation in an A fixed race last night, so it can be done. I lived through it. I don't know about how some of these guys are going to do it, especially with money on the line and a trophy on the line tonight. Dylan Bryant, currently the fastest of all here in the qualifying session, as we take a look at the 34 of Finn Robinson. Robinson currently working on his first lap, one of the multitude of JDRF machines that is out on the circuit here tonight, and will continue to do as such, running that outside line, trying to keep the momentum up. Brian Turnowski completes what would be his second lap. He will go 4th quickest. Chris Hubka 5th quickest. A lot of times now starting to roll in.
Yeah, a lot of times beginning to roll in. And Frank, look how tight those times are. I mean, within the top 5, top 6. Currently right now, the 73 of Nathaniel Dentz, I'm going to say, is coming in at a 55.724. I mean, you go through the first top 3, top 4, top 5 even, they're all in that .7 time bracket, Frank.
Yep, it is going to be a very, very close qualifying effort here tonight. And again, with the draft, and as you were talking about, the super speedways being the great equalizer, there's really no harm for the most part of where you qualify. You could end up in the front or the back in a moment's notice, as we see Nathaniel Dentz in the 73 coming across the line to complete his second lap of qualifying. He will go slower, but Finn Robinson on his second will go just barely quicker to take pole in the number 34.
Yep. Right now, Finn Robinson, he's going to sneak just past the 73, running at a 55.720. But I want to get back to what you just said right before that, Frank. If you're in it, you can win it. But sometimes the strategy starts right now in qualifying mode. Some of these guys may purposely start towards the back if there's been any pre-race deals that have been cut. So look for some of these guys to maybe not put down a time and start in the back potentially.
We've got 18 drivers that have set a qualifying time, at least one on the way, and the one on the way is this man right now in the number 98. That is Nathan Nixon, pardon me. You see across the top, Robinson beating out Dentz by 4 1/1000ths of a second on that qualifying attempt, as the 98 will take his first qualifying lap, and he will go, to begin lap 1. It's awkward how this, because the start-finish line is beyond the pit exit, it kind of fools with how timing and scoring interprets which lap they're on.
Yeah, the new Phoenix configuration, it kind of works the same way too, especially from the time when the pace truck or pace car pulls into pit road. You still have a ways to go before you actually get into that Geico restart zone.
As we see Nathan Nixon on track right now, coming out of turn 4. Working to complete what would be his first lap.
And again, you're going to see him painted from the top side of the racetrack. That's the fast way around here, at least getting up to speed. You want to use every ounce of real estate that this 2.66 mile megaplex has to offer, and look for him to, from the preferred line on the second lap, egg shaping those corners a little bit, or some guys, they're just glued right along the bottom, Frank.
8th quickest on his first lap was Nathan Nixon. On track right now, Eugenio Alonso coming out onto the circuit. Dana Shepard on track as well in the number 43. Show 45 on the side of that truck. As Nathan Nixon rounding turn 4, coming into the tri-oval on his second lap. We're just 3 minutes away from getting this race underway. Nathan Nixon crossing the line. He will not improve his time from his first lap. Dana Shepard, 9th quickest on the first lap for the number 43 Chevrolet Silverado. Eugenio Alonso also working around the circuit. A lot of guys not putting down a qualifying time. We've only had 20 drivers put down a qualifying time thus far. Everyone else will be lined up via their iRating if they cannot get a lap in, which at least the time to get one lap in, Matt, is starting to dwindle away.
Yep, we're quickly approaching that 8-minute mark, which means we're only going to have about 2 minutes for another group of drivers, if they elect to do so at this time, go out onto the speedway. And by the numbers I'm seeing, given the amount of starters that we have in the race, Frank, 20 drivers right now have put down a time. The last time I'm seeing right now was our first qualifying attempt to Richard Knight. He seems to be qualified at a 56.139. That's about a second and a tenth off the pace. So clearly something he didn't like when he was out there on the racetrack and decided to come down pit road.
This will be, at this point, the last qualifying lap, the last person to put in a qualifying lap. Eugenio Alonso, he will go 15th quickest in the number 70. He will get this lap in and no more, so he will be the final driver officially to put a time down, unless he can find about a tenth of a second, a little bit more than a tenth of a second. It'll be Finn Robinson who will get the best seat in the house for tonight's race.
Yeah, big shout out to Finn Robinson and that 34 machine. He's your pole winner tonight, coming in at clocking a qualifying speed of 55.720. And if you think that guy's at home is fast, you ain't seen nothing on the speed charts until we get this pack dialed up and wound up under green flag conditions. Look for lap times up near the front of the pack in the 52 to 53 second range.
Eugenio Alonso taking that final lap of qualifying to practice pit road entry. Not a bad idea for that number 70. He was quicker on the first half of the lap on the second go around than he was on the first. So maybe peeled off a little bit too early, but still will take his spot on the grid in P15. Right now, let's take a look at the rest of the grid and our starting lineup. Finn Robinson will start on pole with a 55.720. Nathaniel Dentz will start to his outside, just 3/1000ths of a second off of the pole time. Dylan Bryant and Chris Claude will make up row number 2. Chris Hubka and Brian Ternowski will sit in row 3. Row 4 goes to Sean Wilder and Nathan Nixon. Dana Shepard and Mike Sobanovsky will start in row number 5. Row 6 will see John Garrett and Randy Lapidus. If somebody in the chat here can help me out with that name, that would be very, very helpful. Thank you very much. The row number 7 will see Jason Dentz and Lauren Jones. Eugenio Alonso and Kevin Hayes, another familiar name, will sit in row number 8. Row 9 will go to Dave Regal and Corey Coe, with Michael Eden and Stephen Kiefer in row number 10. Matt?
Let me bring you the rest of the way home throughout our starting grid tonight. Starting position 21, the Chevy Silverado of Richard Knight. In 22nd, the Toyota Tundra of Kayla McCarthy. rolling off 23rd, John Crow Sr. 24th, that's going to belong to the Toyota of Alex Princeton. In 25th, Warren Young. A couple of Toyotas there. Got a Chevrolet splitting them there. Look for those guys potentially to work together. In 26th, Dustin Logston. 27th, the 29 of Bob Nestor. 28th, the Ford F-150 of Kenneth Bishop. 29th, Ken Rand. And rounding out your top 30, that's going to be the Chevrolet, the 51 machine of John S. Buwala III.
Matt, good.
31st, belonging to Gene Watkinson. 32nd. Looks like I'm having a little bit of a scoring here issue. I apologize.
So it'll be Matt Mackin and Wyatt Fake rolling off in row number 16. Row 17, we'll see Mark Brewster and David Swift. Phil Manzo and Andrew Smith will roll off at the back of the grid here tonight to round out the 36 drivers taking the field. Weather conditions here for tonight's race. We are just about 1:45 p.m. in sim time. 78-degree ambient temperature, not so bad. What might be a little bit hot is the track temperature, 102 degrees here tonight.
And Frank, you stole the words right out of my mouth. The ambient air temperature for the fans feels great, but the hot part is that racetrack. And we know what happens when the racetrack temperature comes up. That means that gets slick. So with these trucks out here on the racetrack, Frank, and this aero package that they currently have, the first 15, 20 laps or so shouldn't have a problem. But as we get later on in the run, and we're not even at 1 p.m. sim time, I'm wondering if we're going to start to see handling come into play, as we get, 25, 30 laps or so into a run.
Seeing in the chat from Dowel Motorsports, we just received a message from someone who has chosen to remain anonymous. He said he would match up to $300 in donation. I informed him that we were at $596 already. He said he's already sent the $300. So an incredible night already, and we have not turned a lap of green flag racing just yet. But in a couple hundred yards, that is about to change. Michael Eden, John Buwalda, and Tony Burt will be starting from pit road here tonight as Finn Robinson and Nathaniel Dentz work their way into the tri-oval to begin tonight's race. 100 laps for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation here at Talladega Superspeedway. Coming into the Geico restart zone, we are green here at Talladega.
Green flag is out. Here we go. Already see a little bit of some tandem teamwork on the front row there. The two Toyotas, the 34 of Finn and the 8 of Dillian Bryant. They're working the bottom side of the racetrack. Currently, right now, the 8, he's doing all the pushing. The 34 is doing the pulling. They get a good restart. They currently have control of the race. As we move on past Kriggs Hospa, I used to race with him back in the Chris Cup Series. He's currently running in the 3rd position. Rounding out your top 5, Sean Wilder and Dana Shepard as they run right now, Frank.
And these guys, if they've been running the A Fixed or the A Open series over the course of this last week, they're going to find it quite difficult to work that outside line. These cars do have a different aero package as compared to the next gen Cup cars, so the outside line may not be as dominant, but right now the outside line is what's gotten Dylan Bryant out to the race lead, but it'll be Sean Wilder in the 91 who's going to lead lap 1.
Yeah, and you talked about the aero package. Look how big the spoiler is just on the deck lid of those trucks out there tonight. They are cutting a hole in the air, which translation is putting a lot of downforce on those trucks, but the straight line speed should belong to the bottom group. But the other aspect of it is what line can get formed up the best, right, Frank? Where do you have the energy? And the best way to generate that energy on a super speedway is to have everyone single file, tailgate to front bumper. That's where you're gonna see the speed come from around this racetrack.
And you saw how quickly that outside line was able to get to the bottom. The 91 of Wilder, John Garrett in the 66, and Nathaniel Dentz. in the number 73, all able to get to that inside line. Chris Claude in the number 10 now leading that outside line with a super speedway specialist behind him, so to speak. Brian Turnowski, a couple of wins in the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series on Friday nights. He'll be in their playoffs starting this Friday.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we got a field packed, star-studded packed field, if you ask me, Frank. We got a couple super speedway regulars or ringers, if you'd like to call it. We got some of our own, Dave Riegel out there in the field, some friends. We also have some stars from the other great series that we cover here at SRM. And as you're seeing already, right here out on the racetrack, we still have two crazy trains going around the track right now. The 91 is Sean Wilder. He's carrying the torch around the racetrack, but at any given time, that can change. Look for a lot of lead changes here over the course of this 100 laps.
We talked about possibly wanting to break out of the first group to try to conserve your truck. Right now, the biggest gap in the field right now is Matt Mackin in the 01. He is back in 30th position. Effectively, this entire field right now is one big pack. There are no smaller packs. No one's breaking quite away. Some guys here at the back, Matt Mackin, Phil Manzo, David Swift, Mark Brewster, keeping their distance, but are still in touch with that first pack. I think the 85 and 22 might have just lost it.
Yeah, it looks like the 85 and 22 may have lost that tail end of the draft, which is not the way that you want to start this race. But as you know, there's a long way to go. Caution definitely will catch you right back up. But these drivers that you mentioned, Frank, in the back of the pack, like the 37 of Michael, in 36th position, Gene Watkinson, or even, in 32nd, Corey Coe in the Chevrolet Silverado. They could be back there for a reason, and that reason is to avoid the big one, the wreck that 99.98% of the time happens at super speedways. But you can't lose the draft, because that substantially is going to have you fall off between 10 or so miles an hour. So they're doing what they need to do, hanging out in the back. I wouldn't look for them to make any move towards the front just yet. Like you said, conserve your truck, keep yourself in position, and when the time comes, start to make your move towards the front with about 20 laps or so to go.
Riding on board there with Corey Coe right now in the number 9 on the inside lines, but the 6th car on that bottom line with Chris Hubka to his outside in the number 5. A couple of guys moving around quite significantly. Michael Sobanovsky only down 1 from where he started. Corey Coe plus 8 from where he began today. Phil Manzo plus 10 right at the back of this line, currently running in the 25th position, swapping that back and forth with Wyatt Fink. He is our biggest mover of the night so far, is Manzo, but that will certainly change as the night goes on.
Yeah, certainly. You're going to have that trend of comers and goers, right, Frank? I mean, right now we have some of these drivers that are up 16 positions, like you were mentioning, from the start of the race. But we're going to see that accordion effect, if you will, come into effect over the course of the run tonight. You're going to have guys trending towards the front at times, and that could be for various reasons. These teams are going to want to see how these trucks are going to perform at the front of the field, mid-pack, and in the back. All these different performance characteristics are going to come into their race strategy. Ultimately, you want to have your truck where it's strongest when the money time's on the line, and that's 5 laps to go.
34 of Finn Robinson breaking status quo here for a moment, jumping out of that bottom line and now leading the outside line. The 34 took the pole here tonight, but did not lead the first lap. All laps so far have been led by the driver in the lead right now. That would be the 91 of Sean Wilder, and John Garrett has been behind him in the 66 for a vast majority of it. Dylan Bryant now starting to push that 34 up into the race lead on that outside line, or getting quite close to it. As we take a look back towards the middle of the field, a lot of guys still running side by side here. However, beyond the top, I would say 14 or 15, we're starting to see some guys spread out, as Kevin Hayes running in 17th right now, trying to stay out of the side-by-side racing.
Yeah, sometimes, as you know, Frank, when you're in that hornet's nest or the pack side-by-side racing, as good as these guys are out there on the racetrack, Mistakes do happen. There's a lot of turbulent air, which is going to push that truck around, right? It's going to be a handful in some cases, especially as you get more laps on the tires. Best way to mitigate that is doing, like you just said, some of these drivers just starting to spread themselves out a little bit, give them that cushion of safety should a caution ensue on the racetrack early in the run.
Looking over the right shoulder of Kevin Hayes right now, almost dead center of that Budweiser truck, the number 3 on track here tonight. Kevin Hayes, also no stranger here to Sim Racing Media. Broadcasted a couple of his races a time or two before. Take a look back up towards the front of this field. Finn Robinson out at the very front has vacated his position at the lead of the outside line to take the lead of the inside.
Finn Robinson wasted no time coming up there through the field. As you said, he was help pushing the outside line. He got a great run. He got some help from behind. Was able to take the advantage on the outside of the racetrack, crossing over the 91's nose, completes the pass, and now the 34, he's carrying the torch around the racetrack. How about Sean Wilder, though? He's up plus 5 spots from where he started from, and also up 8 spots, John Garrett. So these guys, they start a little bit further in the pack, but you can kind of see where their strategy is. And the other part of that safety strategy is if you're out front, you can mitigate those crashes and those different potentials out there on the racetrack to have bad things turn your way. And one way to mitigate that is being the leader.
The 18 of Michael Eden that these guys just came up and lapped down the back straightaway in the number 18. As Finn Robinson and Sean Wilder now ride clear of side-by-side racing, but only for the moment, as here comes a run from Dylan Bryant in the 8 on that outside line. Chris Claude pushing away. Same thing with Brian Turnowski. Chris Hupka there as well. Mike Sobanowski, Lauren Jones on the outside line as well in the number 10, as we have gotten back to close side-by-side racing here after these guys have gotten strung out a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, the outside line is definitely performing better than outperforming my initial expectations. I thought for certain, at least the first 15, 20 laps, the bottom was going to be the preferred way around this racetrack. But how about the resilience of these drivers committed to make the top work? That second line of trucks, as you said, Frank, they have pulled themselves back up in contention right with the current leader of the 34, but they are literally tenths of the seconds apart right now throughout the top 20.
A couple of microphone issues there just a moment ago, but as we work our way through here, 37 cars have started this race. John Buwalda in the number 51 did not start this race, nor did he take part in qualifying. There are a couple of cars one lap down. Michael Eden in the 18 is a lap down. Tony Burt, after qualifying, starting on pit road, I should say, in the number 37, currently finds himself in position number 37, about to go a second lap down. Again, after starting from pit road, and boy, does he have a pack of angry Hornets coming up behind him.
Yeah, certainly. The last thing you want to do is Kevin LePage the field, and I'm sure you know what I mean by that one there, Frank. When you have this many trucks coming at you, you want to make sure that you let these guys know exactly where you're going to be running on the racetrack. Give them the preferred line. You don't want to impact any type of you don't want to impact these leaders or this lead pack as they're coming through trucking. I mean, they're going to pass you like you're standing still.
Absolutely. As we take a look, we'll ride on board here. This is with the 25 of Mike Sobanowski. The banking of these corners here quite significant. A good 38 degrees of banking here through the corners here at Talladega. A lot wider than Daytona. Daytona, you can fit 3 cars quite close together. Here at Talladega, you can fit 3 cars quite comfortably together as you head all around this racetrack.
Yeah, 3 quite comfortably. 4, that'll make your blood pressure just elevate a little bit. And 5, if you're really good. But I mean, that's going to make your eyeballs bulge out the sockets and grit your teeth just a little bit trying to make that work. And typically, some 1 or 2 don't end up on the, wind up happy after that move. has been completed. But this racetrack, like you were saying, Frank, plenty of real estate, 3-4 wide at times. Great. We want to thank all these guys out here in the SRM chat and the channel. If you're new to SRM, make sure you smash that like button, ring that bell. Come home to SRM for all your eSIM racing action. We got you covered 7 days a week right here.
That was a great shot there as we were riding on board with Mike Sobanowski in the number 25. Saw that run the outside line, got just waltzed past 3 cars on that bottom line. As right now Chris Claude in the number 10 out in front. There is a new leader on the inside line, however. That is Dylan Bryant, has gotten back around the 34 of Finn Robinson. That 10 has seemed pretty content with staying on the outside.
Definitely committed to the outside right now, and that could be a precedent set. Could look for him to potentially stay committed to
Never
working
mind.
that. Never mind. Just sometimes the commentator, you almost can foresee the future, especially with the credit caution flags.
As you do, Brian Turnowski now taking that momentum from Chris Hubka on the outside line. It's at 28 of Turnowski looking to lead his first laps of the night. Claude tries to push up, take a little bit of side draft off, but nothing stopping the run of Turnowski. Up to the front he goes, down to the bottom he goes, and the conveyor belt continues. Get clear on the outside, jump to the inside, outside line gets the run, and repeat.
Yep, it's almost a game of cat and mouse. I'm going to go where you're not. We're going to crisscross, and you're going to mismatch, and we're going to do it all over again. But that's plate racing, and that's what makes for such high impact, high octane racing action. It's just literally door to door, wall to wall, every single lap of the race. And as for these drivers, when you're strapped inside the cockpit of that racing rig or that simulator, there's really hardly no time to breathe. Your spotter's talking to you. There's constant action all around the racetrack. So not only is it mentally challenging, it's also physically challenging. That's why a lot of times you see some of these drivers that just have the experience, they just seem to perform. Whoa.
Gene Watkinson getting lapped in the Dowel Chevrolet Silverado, the 111. He's the third truck to go a lap down here tonight, not getting off of that inside line. And now it's not mandatory that he goes up to the outside line. It's as long as you're predictable is usually the word of thumb. As boy, he's getting awful close to the trucks in the middle lane right now.
I could have should have thought some tire smoke back there, Frank. I'm pretty sure I did, because that was some awful tight racing. Is there still 3-4 wide back there?
It looked like the 25 of Sobanowski may have caught the outside wall a little bit going into turn 1, as guys still trying to work their way around the 111. As that really shuffled this field up, and we've got one more lap car still coming as the 98 of Nathan Nixon slots back in line. Fourth car on the outside line is the 98. Through all of that, though, the two drivers who were leading their respective lanes, Chris Hubka in the 5, Brian Turnowski in the 30, still out in front.
Yep, nothing will shuffle the deck like that, especially with, a little 3-4 wide racing and someone having a quick kiss of death with the outside wall. That'll certainly shuffle the deck just a little bit, get everyone's attention, certainly at a plate track. But like you were saying, Frank, Chris Hubka in the 5, he's currently commanding the outside line of the racetrack. That truck's looking awful racy. He's getting a great push, some help from the 34. Those guys have been about stable to take together from the start of the green flag. They're definitely getting some chemistry going here for potential later on in the run tonight, as he's potentially could take the lead if he elected to. He had an opportunity there where he could have crossed down over the 3 of Kevin and committed to the bottom line. But that just shows you how committed these guys are running to the top of the racetrack. There's been opportunities for the 5 of Chris Hubka to take the lead, but he's not leaving his drafted partner, and that will come back and repay him later on in the race. Should the 34 and the 5 work together. You give and take a little bit. You do me a favor, I'll cut you a break later on in the race. But as you know, Frank, as the laps start to wind down, that's when you see the give and take go away, and that's when we see the octane and the racing action turn up another level, and that's when we start to see the potential big one later on in the run.
We are 1/5 of the way through this race here tonight. The JDRF 250 here from Talladega Superspeedway. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. 20 green flag laps. We are just short of the pit cycle beginning. We'll take a break. We'll be right back here with more from Talladega.
We just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has put the race together to support Haley and donate to JDRF, which is an organization that helps us so much manage Haley's type 1 diabetes every day. Special thank you to Mike Eden and Jack Dowel Motorsports and everyone who put together an amazing program with a national anthem and a trophy for the winner, and all the drivers. Best of luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back live here at Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. John Garrett in the 66. A lot of patience for that man has paid off. He has gotten out to the front here of this field. A big 3-wide move for Nathan Nixon did not pay off. He's now the third car on the outside lane. Dylan Bryant still leading that high line as we return about a quarter of the way through here at Talladega. Lot of side-by-side running here early on in this race, and it's not just about 12 cars that are side-by-side. There is the back of the field. That is Bob Nestor in the 29, currently running in the 29th position. There is the race for the lead. Everyone is right on top of each other here, so space has become a premium, Matt, here tonight. It's going to be about trying to find the right moves when you need to make.
It's crazy when you're looking at speeds 180 plus miles an hour. We talk about football being a game of inches. Well, sometimes NASCAR is a game of inches, and that's exactly what we have going on right now at the, on the racetrack. Oh, but hey, we're also trying to do this at 188, 190 miles an hour. That just goes to show you the precision and the racecraft that these drivers have inside those race trucks here tonight. It is a lot tougher than it looks at home. I can promise you guys that. If you're interested, iRacing, it's really easy to get started. You just need to have an average PC, mild video card. Get yourself a wheel and give this a shot. If you haven't thought about doing it, I highly recommend it. And who knows, you could wind up here in one of these charity events, driving for a good cause, being up front contending for the win tonight.
Absolutely. We have two different JDRF links down at the bottom of this stream in the description. One is for a specific event, and that event would be the JDRF One Walk event. Now, prior to this stream, it had already hit its goal as far as the donation is concerned, but still doesn't mean you can't help out if you can. Also, the second link down there at the bottom is to donate straight to the JDRF as a whole. It's a fantastic cause to try to help fight type 1 diabetes in children. As we again, this is not the JDRF's first foray into racing, and very, very thankful that they are a sponsor here with us tonight.
Yeah, we certainly couldn't do it with all the help of all the sponsors and the partners that that are currently working together to put this great event out here on the racetrack as we close out 2022 on a high note right here from Earnhardt Country at Talladega Superspeedway.
Absolutely.
One person I want to give a shout out to, our SRM's own Dave Regal. Oh, his team almost just right on cue decided to almost howitzer. Who was that? A wake-up call there. But Dave, we see you out there on the racetrack. Just want to give you a shout out. Dave's currently running right now in the looks like the 21st position out there on the racetrack right now. Dave, we see you, man. Hope you have a good race.
Still chugging right along as we get set to work into this pit cycle as Regal jumps to the middle of the racetrack, getting out from in front of the 03 of Ken Ron. Now falling back in front of him as we look back up to the front of this field. Dylan Bryant was able to finally clear the 66 of John Garrett. That leaves Chris Hubka free on the outside line with Nathan Nixon up at the front of this field.
Yeah, there's another guy. Sorry about that, Frank. Go ahead.
You're good. No, you're good.
There's another guy that's been flexing some muscle all race long, the 5 of Chris Hugba. He started up front. He's currently running up front +2. I don't think he's fallen outside of the top 7, top 8 since the start of the green flag. He's in the 5. He's in the 5 machine, and he's been working well with the 99 and the 34. And you can see this front 3 or 4 cars, or trucks, I should say, all really working together. So we wondered if there's some pre-race strategy there. Maybe there's some history with these guys working together, because, I mean, these guys are not breaking apart. Some of these drivers, if he goes high, the other guy's going high, and vice versa. So we could start to be seeing some of the future, into the future, or what the finish of this race is going to look like, Frank.
It certainly could be that. And right now we're going to draw attention. Remember when we had said it looked like the 25 may have caught the outside wall going into turn 1 as the field was lapping the 111? Well, that is the front end of Mike Sobanovsky's Ford F-150. We'll take a look on the outside. That is Jason Dent's. That's what the front end is supposed to look like if it were clean. Sobanovsky's does not look like that. He certainly did catch that outside wall in turn 1. Because here we go,
yep,
coming into pit.
Say that. Yep, as we approach lap 30, here we go, hard on the brakes, 25 and company.
Oh, somebody's around.
Up down to pit road. Oh.
Chris Hubka.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Oh, Chris Hubka leads the group onto pit road, and that was somebody, I believe that was, boy, I'm having a hard time finding out who that may have been. Like, it might have been been Tony Burt. It was a, not sure who it was. Hold on, we'll take a look. Oh no, it was the 20 of Steven Kiefer. Had gotten spun coming onto pit road, possibly going onto pit road, possibly trying to avoid guys going onto pit road. But either way, that 30 took a ride.
Yeah, that 30 took a ride. And Frank, we talked about this at the beginning of the race. And the pit road can be dicey and treacherous here at Talladega, especially when you have 10 to 15 trucks all trying to make up that time. And the one way you can do that is coming down pit road. You got to do what? You got to get hard on the brakes. Sometimes these are hot, track slick, doesn't want to slow down. And we just about avoided disaster for Chris Hogba and some of the other front runners. Luckily that the carnage was mitigated, but that could have been a lot worse as we're currently undergoing the first round of pit stops of the day.
Just saw what happened there as the 20 just tried to take way too much momentum and steam going into pit road. Second group of cars in pit road now: Dylan Bryant, Nathan Nixon, Nathaniel Dench, Jason Dents as well, Dana Shepard, Chris Claude, Matt Mackin, Brian Tarnowski, Lauren Jones, Bob Nestor, all down pit road that time around. John Garrett still out on the racetrack. Kenneth Bishop in the 14 is going to lead the second group onto pit road. A couple of drivers getting a very close call, almost missing their pit boxes there as they work their way towards a stop.
Yeah, and again, sometimes you're going to have those pit road jitters, especially your first time down, at speed during competition, and that all costs you precious time on the racetrack. You overshoot the pit stall, you got to bump it in reverse. You got to make sure that that car is lined up inside the box on pit road in order to be a legal pit stop. And the other part of that is, this isn't a 1.5 mile track. This isn't a short track. So look for these guys unless it's completely unavoidable, to come down and pit in groups. Well, why do they do that, Frank? So they can be at pace speed or lap speed. But in order to do that, you got to have a group of cars. You got to have at least 2 friends out there, preferably 3 or more. And when you don't properly execute on pit road, well, that's one less car for the pack, and that's costing you time on the racetrack. So not only are you impacting yourself, you can be impacting other potential competitors out there. As we currently see the 66 of John Garrett, he was the leader. He stayed out. He's currently locked down in his pit box. The jack's going to go underneath the truck. The right side of the truck's going to go up. As they go to work, look for that jack to come back down, and he is off just like that. But good heads up by the 66. Go out there, lead a lap, get yourself some time out front. Maybe you feel how that truck's going to perform if you haven't had a chance to have your truck out in clean air, as he's currently making his way back out onto the racetrack ring.
Fastest man on pit road from cone to cone was the 98 of Nathan Nixon, the only driver sub 41 seconds cone to cone. Went from pit entry, took the pit stop, and then pit exit in 40.87 seconds. He now finds himself out in front. Dylan Bryant was the first car closest to him, about 2 seconds away from the pack. But that 2 seconds, I'm sorry to say, for the 98 and the 8 has turned into about 2/10 as a big wad of cars up here slow on the outside line. It looks like Nathaniel Dent in the 73 up by the wall with some right front damage.
A little right front damage up there with some, just a little bit. And that's going to obviously be from some contact out on the racetrack. I don't know if you caught it, Frank, but the 91 is Sean Wilder. He took a wild ride down below the yellow line as they were going down the backstretch there. Yeah, was able to bring it back up into the bottom lane without having the banking come into play, which, as you know, when you try to transition from the flat to the banking at speed, that can be tumultuous.
We were talking about the little bit of nose damage on the front end of the 25. Well, it's grown. He does have a little bit more front end damage now. Does Sobanovsky, as he's now trying to stay in this group. We'll try to take a look and see what happened here between the 25 and the 73. This is just after the fact. Back it up just a little bit more here for you guys. Try to see what happened, where, and how. As there is Sobanovsky on the outside line. Ooh, the 73 got loose out of nowhere in the corner. He wasn't pushed. Just ended up hooking right into the outside wall. Sobanovsky had nowhere to go.
That's what I call phantom loose. I mean, there was just no sign of that coming, especially, I mean, even the position on the racetrack. I can't remember the last time I've seen something like that, Frank.
Now, Nathaniel Dents, as you can see, is sporting, I guess you could say, one more new car, but one less fast repair. Every driver does have one fast repair on offer here tonight. And that is the first incident of the race as we're working on 2/5 of the way through this race. That was the first incident that we've had that you could even remotely say was close to causing a caution.
And that is it's impeccable, because I thought for certain with 36 drivers taking the field at Talladega, if you would have told me lap 36 would be even the only way we could breathe on the subject, I would call you a liar. But that's what we've had out here so far tonight. And oddly enough, it was just the way that happened, Frank. I went back and I watched that again. I mean, he didn't have any help. There was no one in his direct vicinity that would upset the airflow over that F-150, and it just snapped on him.
Mike Sobanovsky coming into the pit road as the field makes its way around the 38 of Phil Manzo, who has latched on behind the 3 of Kevin Hayes. As the 38 has gone a lap down, as well as the 111 of Gene Watkinson has gone a lap down, in the Dole Banana Machine Chevy Silverado down there at the bottom of the line.
Yeah, the 38's occupying the bottom side of the racetrack. He's hugging that double yellow line, and don't forget at home, that double yellow, that's out of bounds. You cannot go down there and advance your position. That will reward you with a penalty. With the 38 of Philip Manza, he is currently showing one lap down in 28th position. So as he runs right now, he would be eligible for the lucky dog should that dreaded C word come out on the racetrack, and I'm not going to say it. But his truck's still looking pretty good. I don't see any damage on that race truck. Just a little bit maybe on the right side there, up the front near the fascia. But other than that, that 38 machine, it's looking good out there on the racetrack. And you're only one lap down. He's still got plenty of time to recover. Just be smart, execute, hit your marks, race the race, not yourself.
73. Oh, contact between the 98 and the 8. A little bit of a bump draft gone wrong. And up into the wall goes the 70, and the caution comes out.
Oh, there it is. There's the howitzer, and the Whamma Jamma is on. The big one unfolds at Talladega, lap 38. This is going to have major implications on the field, Frank.
That was the first really hard shot. And again, these guys do have a mulligan as a fast repair is on offer. Started with the 70 of Eugenio Alonso. It looked as though everything was all good after the initial incident, but then it all kicked off again.
It's like a delayed fuse.
We'll take a look and see again what happened here up at the front of the field. And again, it starts prior to the actual incident that we saw, as Nathan Nixon, that wasn't Nixon that gave him the bump, it was the 19. And then Nixon trying to get back up onto the racetrack.
Oh my gosh. I still can't even begin to believe we're saying this, and we've had our first official on-track incident, but for the first time, caution waves at lap 40, and this is really going to shuffle the deck as far as the running order of this field after we get these pit stops and all these repairs sorted out.
See what happened. The 98 ended up coming down and sliding down off the racetrack. And as he was coming back up onto the racing surface, the 70 of Alonso moved up. And that's what ended up causing that. We'll try to get an on board here. This is the 8 of Dylan Bryant. Previously seeing this on board with. So here those two just collide, and unfortunately in the middle of it, Kevin Hayes, the 111, catches it. Just some more beating and banging. On board with Jason Dents. Boy, and unfortunately for Nathaniel Dents, he had just come out of pit road after taking his fast repair.
Yeah, that's a 1-2 whack-a-mole, not of the desired kind. As you said, he just took his fast repair, and the man's barely out on the racetrack, and the ignition switch gets hit right in front of him again. He gets caught up in another one.
Just looking back at Dave Regal on the incident.
The 21 machine.
Take a look off the back of Wyatt Fink. And the number 63. Slowing down, just trying to avoid it, and catches it from the front mostly. We'll take a look. We'll look forward on this same replay here from Fink's on board. So the wreck happened right in front of him. Slowed down enough, gets sideswiped, and then just cars coming down across and right in front of him. And a lot of guys with fast cars that have had very good runs here forced to take a fast repair early.
Yeah, I mean, when this happens real time in the middle of the hornet's nest, I mean, in most cases, Frank, you're just holding on for the ride. It's so hard to react and, you know, and try to find a piece of daylight where to point your machine. A lot of times when you come out the other side unscathed, a lot of it's pure luck. It's like putting dynamite inside of a frag grenade, right? You pull the pin on it and it just shoots shrapnel everywhere, and that shrapnel going everywhere, unfortunately, there's all these trucks on the racetrack that are out of control.
Saw the 10 power his way through that, the 14 powering his way through it as well. As the first incident here at Talladega was a big one here tonight, up at the front of the field. As with there were pit stops. However, the two drivers that you see up at the front of the field here, Richard Knight in the 23 and Warren Young in the 33, who's got the number 9 on his side. Those two did not come into pit under this set of pit stops. Everybody else, however, did.
Yeah, and there's an example of how staying out can be an advantage, and it helped them avoid all the chaos that was essentially going to be the front of the field once Richard Knight, who started in the 15th position, and the 33 of Warren Young would have came down and executed their pit stops. But getting back to that wreck, Frank, that's the worst possible spot on the racetrack that you could have an incident break out. Tight pack racing. I mean, you said before, we weren't even a second apart between first and 30th, and you let that break loose out on the racetrack, that's a can opener. And all that energy has to go somewhere. You know, thank God some of these guys were on pit road, because that could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely is. A lot of guys taking fast repairs after that incident to keep themselves in this race. Some guys losing laps, getting toes. We know the 19 lost some time, the 8 lost some time. Those guys currently sitting a lap down right now. Sobanovsky 2 laps down. Almost fortunate that he had the wreck and came into pit a couple laps later than he did. Otherwise, he might have been caught up in that as well. And again, unfortunately for the 73 of Nathaniel Dents, had just come back down pit road to take his fast repair from that earlier incident. Got caught up in that one as well. Still out on the racetrack, though, as Chris Hubka, a little bit of connection issues, Matt, as we get set to go here on this restart.
Yeah, Chris Puppy there is still getting the holiday spirit. He had a little bit of the blinking light special going on his race truck. Hopefully he'll get that connection stabilized. One of the battles we have here with sim racing is that connection, and sometimes when it acts up, it's not at the driver's wheel or anyone's doing, but sometimes that can cause an issue. Your tires can prematurely wear when you when you spawn back in or you blink back in. But one of our fast trucks from early on in the race, that 5 of Chris Hugba, look for him to hopefully get that connection stabilized. As I see here, we've extended the caution lap by one more lap. We got 2 laps until we go back under green. Still trying to get this this field sorted out with race control.
Yeah, there were a couple of guys that were out of position and scrambling to try to get back into the right position. Otherwise, black flags would have been handed out, which is why we have extended this caution again as the Chevy Silverado pace truck clearly sped down pit road in order to pick this field back up, I would say.
That pace truck probably had to have about 2,000 horsepower under the
just immediately hit the turbocharger there.
I heard John Force is in the driver's seat of that truck tonight.
That's what it sounds like, at least for this caution he was. As once again, we will reset the fields here. Richard Knight, Warren Young will be row number 1. 2 guys we really haven't heard much of here tonight. Nathan Nixon and Sean Wilder will make up row number 2. Dana Shepard and John Garrett sitting in row 3. Chris Hubka and Bob Nestor in row 4. With row 5 going to the 28 of Jason Dance and Corey Coe. As that is how the top 10 will line up. Lauren Jones and Brian Turnowski up to 12. Wyatt Fink and John Crow Sr., another guy we haven't mentioned tonight, up in the 14th position. But Matt, getting set to go again.
Yeah, so here we go. We got Richard Knight, the 23. He was the first guy to take to the track under qualifying. He's going to be the first guy to take him into the Geico restart zone as we come off our first caution of the evening. We enter the restart zone. Bam, on the loud pedal. Knight pushes that Chevrolet Silverado through the floorboard. He gets quite a launch, and he opens up a gap there, Frank, which is sometimes not what you want to do because that's going to allow that low side line to get a run. And the 98 of Wilder there, Nixon, he plays nice. Gonna pick him up, feather the throttle, give the 23 a good push. But we got a lot of new names up front we haven't seen yet, Frank. We're gonna have to see how these guys conduct business at the front of the field.
That was the perfect start for Knight if he was at Martinsville or Bristol. But at Talladega, that was probably the worst start you could have gotten because now that train on the outside line starting to come forward. Warren Young out in front. Sean Wilder jumps to the inside again, just as he did on the first lap, trying to take the lead for the first time since about lap number 10 of this race.
Knight.
Boy, getting close between Young and Knight there as guys are going 3 wide. That's the 98, once again, of Nathan Nixon. Way up in that third lane. Corey Coe pushing the 33 of Young along.
Yeah, Nick, way up there in the nosebleeds. And we were just talking, Frank, we haven't seen any of these names up front. We didn't know how they were going to conduct themselves. And while the 5 comes down and just about chops the nose off of the 23, I seen the pops coming out of the tailpipes. He had to back out of the throttle. We almost would have had the second big one. Hopefully these guys can just calm down a little bit up here at the front. I know they just had a chance to get up there. They want to show that they can perform and they can contend. But you got to be around till the end of the race. We're barely working lap 45. So, sometimes you hit that first caution, you get that big one out there on the racetrack, your emotions start to get the best of you, your anxiety goes through the roof. So let's look for that crew chief, that spotter, to help be that voice of reason for these drivers, to get them refocused, get out there, just start logging laps, and just wind down laps off the board right now. Just, and that's what's critical. That's what's important during this time of the race. Just log some laps, minimize any type of adversity so you can be around there for the end. When I got worried there for a second between the 23 and the 33 there, they had me about catching my breath, Frank.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one of these things that a big incident like what we had about 5 or 6 laps ago will do, is it will shuffle the field up quite significantly. So guys that were hanging around towards the back of the field now start to work their way back up. Warren Young, one of those guys. Richard Knight, same with him. As the 91 of Sean Wilder still out in front of this field. Biggest mover right now is that 33 on the outside line. That Hot Tamales truck, again, has the number 9 on the side of it tonight. However, it is showing up as the 33, 3 wide in the back as some guys towards the back of the field trying to work their way forward.
They're trying to work their way forward. The bottom line is working their way forward. Finally starting to get some good energy formed up as the first 3-4 trucks in line were nice and tight as they were going down the back straightaway. They were able to surge ahead of Sean Wilder temporarily. With that outside line, they're not going down without a fight. They're starting to get formed up on the high side. Sean Wilder is getting the push from the 5 machine. Or I'm sorry, the 5 is getting the push from the 91 machine up there on the top side of the racetrack. The 33 in company as well, following in close proximity. So 5, Chris Hockba, he was up front that first portion of the run before we had the big one. That truck looks to have some repairs done to it. It's looking FAST fast again. But how about the 91 machine as he continues to put on a dogfight out there, refuses to give up that lead to the 66 or the 33 of Warren Young.
Yeah, it's still that 66 of John Garrett, who's been in the second or third position on that bottom lane here for a vast majority of this race. Chris Hubka currently leading in that outside lane as once again, a big wreck like that has not deterred this group from still running close and still running tight with each other, as we still have a very large company of cars. Somebody on his on the outside line there getting lapped. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure who that is. It's getting passed up on the outside.
Yeah, it looks like potentially on the outside line up there in on the nosebleed lane, and that's exactly where you want to be when you got 2 lines of freight trains coming at you at speed and you're off the pace and running by yourself. Looks to be going to be the first car lap out of Dustin Lodson, I believe.
No, it's the 87 of Andrew Smith, who had just gotten lapped there. As up at the front of this field, guys still fighting and battling and jostling for position as we hit the halfway point here from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Sean Wilder still out in front of this race. Chris Hubka leading the outside line. We've just had our first big caution of the night. A lot of racing still left to go here from Talladega at the JDRF 250 here at Talladega.
Yeah, and as you were saying, Frank, we're only 50% of the way home in this one. And if the racing and the excitement level is this high, I can't imagine how these guys are going to turn it up anymore. But that's exactly what's going to happen as we start to go down, wind the laps down the other side as we count them down. And Frank, as you said, you shuffled the deck. There's a lot of new drivers out in front. These guys haven't necessarily raced together throughout the course of that first 35, 40 laps or so before we had that caution flag. I thought for certain we would see things start to settle down a little bit, and it was anything but that from the drop of the green flag when we went back to a hot condition out there on the racetrack. These guys are still dicing and mixing it up. And how about that 66, man? He has been painted a laser beam all over the back of that 91, Sean Wilder, as we went back under green flag conditions. I mean, anywhere that 91 goes, that 66 is following in that close proximity. He's been committed to the bottom side of the racetrack for the entire course of the race. The 9, he's only lurking about a quarter car length back. You know, he's potentially looking maybe work with the 22 or Hockba if he can get a run, maybe get a shot around him on the outside if they can time it right.
It absolutely is. See the 23. Now, an interesting situation is going to come up here soon. We're working lap 52 of 100 here. The 23 and the 33 both came into pit back on lap 30. Everyone else came in under that caution flag on lap 40. So everyone else around the 23 and the 33 have 10 laps of extra fuel on board. So watching those two work their way to the bottom and pit out of this big group here, it's going to come about 10 laps earlier than anyone else would.
You had 10 laps earlier than anyone else would, and that also means a lack of participants or racers, trucks coming down pit road with you if you remain under a green flag condition. And Frank, as you know, here at Talladega, you want to have a dancing partner, especially when you're coming out of the pits. I mean, you're running 190 miles an hour. Pit road speed, I believe, here tonight is 55. That's a massive difference. And when you're trying to get these trucks wound back up to pace speed, and you don't have a dancing partner or you're limited, they're at a premium, it's going to be really hard to make up all that time on the racetrack, especially under green flag conditions.
Absolutely. Working lap number 53 here from Talladega Superspeedway, the JDRF 250. We'll take a quick break. We will be right back with more great racing action. Still a lot to come here from this big superspeedway. Back live here at Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama, the JDRF 250, the charity race put on by Dowel Motorsports. And what a night it has been so far here at Talladega. Now, every race you have to prepare for the inevitability of something predictable happening, such as, say, at Talladega with 37 cars, a massive wreck. However, sometimes the unpredictable happens, and apparently a phantom caution has been called. We stayed in break a little bit longer to try to figure out the source of said caution, and John Buwalda, our race control tonight, is just as confused as we are. So we can add phantom iRacing caution to the list of things here tonight.
That just goes to show you, when we say plate racing, you never know what can happen. Just, hey, there's another example. Fashion cautions. We didn't see that one coming. I know we spent some time trying to debunk that one ourselves, and it's always good when race control is on your side. You know, it kind of helps, you know, from up here in the SRM booth that we think we know what we're doing.
And we try to know, we pretend to know, and then even when that one time when we ask for clarity, instead of just saying something that might be incorrect, we get an, I don't know, just the same way we're doing. That's always good to know that sometimes even race control doesn't know what's going on. So either way, this puts the 23 and the 33, which was a saving grace for those two. It puts them both now back on the same cycle as the race leaders, as everybody came down pit road there. So now 33 and 23 both have those free spots that they gained and have made one less pit stop.
Yeah, they certainly got a bonus Christmas gift after Christmas has come and gone, because you know those guys, if there was, obviously we talk about at times people doing the rain dance at Talladega, they were doing a dance, but they were looking for that caution flag, and they got a gift out there on the racetrack. And as you said, Frank, puts them back right on the lead lap in contention as we get ready to bring them into the Geico restart zone.
Absolutely. Sean Wilder into the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. Just over 40 laps to go here from Talladega. Wilder did not get a great jump here as far as how the 23 got on that last restart. Plus, the outside line stuck right with him as John Garrett was side by side. There's about a truck length worth of room. Unfortunately for Garrett, his restart was too good. He can't fill that gap. Now filled by the 9. However, I don't think he's going to be too upset because the 5 pushes him to the lead.
Yeah, the 5 pushes him to the lead. Then comes the crossover move from the 66, I believe. He got actually up to the outside line there for a quick second just to get a push and cranked it down across the racetrack down to the low side, and he overtakes the Wild Thing, Sean Wilder, for that P1 position right now. But there you go, Frank, the 66 right back in his comfort zone, and his comfort zone is that inside line right here around this 2.66 mile oval.
I'll talk about trucks that have been very consistently up at the front of this field here tonight. 66 and 5 are two that immediately come to mind. The 99 has been up here for most of the night, as has the 34, who is pushing the 5 right now. But when you talk about guys that have consistently been in the top 2 or 3 here tonight, it is certainly the 2 cars leading each lane that stick out.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, we've seen these guys up here all night, but I mean, respectively working 2 different lines. Chris Hockma, the 5 machine, he's been committed to the top side. The 66 and company, they've been committed to the low side of the speedway of the racetrack. Yes, the low line is the shortest distance around here, and I would think at the start of this race, Frank, we were both under the same accord, if you will, that the low side was going to be the faster way around the racetrack. But these guys working the top side of the racetrack, they had something else in store for us, and they are proving us wrong right now. That high side, that top line has been hanging tough, and they've been right there every step of the way so far. In fact, the 5 of Chris Hockba, he can potentially come down right now and take the lead, but he is staying committed like he was earlier to the 34 of Flynn.
Absolutely, as those guys have been working well together. The 29 of Bob Nestor on that outside line, and that Warner Brothers Ford F-150, the furthest running Ford up in this field, running in 5th position right now. The next highest placing Ford is the 63 of Wyatt Fink. There he is in that blue car on the outside line, number 63, currently running in the 14th position. As we take a look at somebody on the outside there, that would be the 8 of Dylan Bryant, currently not on the lead lap, running 1 lap down in the 27th position. And he has a little bit of work that he needs to do, because Eugenio Alonso in the number 70 right now, running in 26th, is the lucky dog car 2 spots ahead of him.
Yep, he's got him 2 spots to the good right now. But hey, Frank, we say it all the time. It's plate racing. If you want to go up there and get yourself a position or 2, you can do that. You just got to be careful how you execute it. I mean, and look at some of these runs we're seeing here at the back of the pack. I mean, the 14 looked like he had... The 14 looked like he had a shot of nitrous in that truck. He got a great run with the 12. Is they're trying to get that 3rd lane going.
Yep, and also trying to take that 3rd lane, and we're riding on board with him right now. That's the 8 of Dylan Bryant, just past the 70. That was the first truck to the inside that he just passed. Now the first truck off of the lead lap. He'll get that lucky dog if the caution were to come out right now. And go figure, it's the 98 of Nathan Nixon who is trying to start that 3rd lane. He has not been shy about trying to take that run up against the wall. Now he's got a couple of guys to go with him, unlike earlier on tonight.
Yeah, dance and partners that are willing to play follow the leader and go up there and get that 3rd lane going. And that's a good group of trucks up there. As you said, Nathan, he's had no problem going up there. He's been very vocal out there on the racetrack about wanting to go up top and get to the top of the fishbowl to come into play. But here we go. Every lap that goes by, a couple more takers grip to the top side of the racetrack. That's going to be the longest way around, but that's going to give you the most amount of time, the most distance to really maximize that draft and get these trucks wound up to top speed. We're going to have to see if they can continue to mount a foursome on the outside, up there on the top side of the racetrack, the top, if you will, and see if they can come up there and contend with the 5 of Hockba.
I want to talk about a driver who has shown some power and strength in that truck, the 8 of Dylan Bryant. We just saw how far back he was marred in the field. He has now gotten up to the 3rd car on the outside lane. He was about the 11th or 12th car on the outside lane not but a couple of laps ago. He has really worked that number 8 Pepsi machine up into a spot where he not only doesn't have to rely on that lucky dog. He might try to get his lap back the hard way here if that pace of that truck keeps showing the way it is.
Yeah, that truck is FAST fast right now. That Tundra, DRD Tundra is going places, as Toyota always likes to say. I mean, look at this, Frank. It looks like Dale Earnhardt Sr. back in 2000 when he drove it from 15th to 1st in the matter of a couple laps. I mean, he's right up there, the top line of the racetrack. Look at this. I mean, every time this man gets a run, he takes it. He just sandwiched himself in the middle about a half lap ago, which I thought was a horrible move. Nope, Matt, you're wrong. I got this. And he continues to snake right back there. He continues to snake and just lurch right back there, right off the tailgate of the 9, and the 98's been right with him the whole way through.
Finn Robinson back out to the front of this field. Once again, it's the 66 finding himself as the 2nd car on the inside lane. Chris Hubka in the 5 once again finding himself as the lead car on the outside lane. And once again, it's the 98 of Nathan Nixon trying to work the outside lane. He does have help behind him. That 54 and the 14 are the only 2 that are there But you can tell we're coming down to 36 laps to go right now. Some of these guys are starting to make moves they were not making earlier on in this race.
No, they're not, and they're starting to make moves quick, fast, and in a hurry. And as these guys are making moves, Frank, the intensity is going up, up, and up with every single move these guys are making on the racetrack. You can see the sense of urgency. It's asking you. Oh,
my goodness, that was Nixon. Got very, very close to spinning down into, I believe that was the 91 of Wilder. We were riding on board with the 8 of Bryant as that was happening, and that really scattered the outside line. Guys starting to fall towards the back. I believe that might have been Dustin Logston that was on the outside there. It was in that number 54 that also got loose out there.
Yeah, Nixon almost reenacted the Watergate scandal out here on the racetrack, and you mentioned everyone scattered. I would be scattering too. I wouldn't want to be any part of that all over again. But disaster is avoided. But as this intensity, Frank, continues to mount and rise, I mean, the way these guys are racing right now, I don't see how we haven't had another caution flag yet. But just a testament to how good these guys are. But I mean, you can't race much harder and still keep it clean without carnage ensuing on the racetrack. This is wild what we're seeing right now.
Looky here, who's leading the outside lane? Eugenio Alonso. Now the first car not on the lead lap. Now in position to get the lucky dog. And at the front of this outside pack, but the guy who was the fastest in the practice session, the number 19 of Alex Princeton, following right behind him. He is the first lead lap car on that outside line, looking to give the 70 that push that he needs, not just to become the lucky dog driver, but possibly get the lap back the old-fashioned way as the 34 of Finn Robinson tried to go up and take that run. The 70 said, I don't think so. Oh. Close contact between the 34 and the 23.
Yeah, the 34 gets caught in the sucker hole right there, and he's,
that's the 23 round. Richard Knight just at the start-finish line. I think we're going to be lucky to see that this not be as big as it could have been. Boy, is Brian Tarnowski involved?
Tarnowski's involved. Brian Knight's involved.
And that right there was a case of the 34 stuck in the middle. Both the 70 and the 19 came down to cover the middle, and the 23 tried to follow him there, not realizing that the 34 was still there. We'll take a look at it once again here on replay.
Got caught in the black hole, Frank, which is the middle.
It's a little bit late. Oh, the 14 got caught up in it as well. Let's take a look and see here once again from above. As we'll see, there's the 34 going into the middle line. Tried to take the run with the 70 and the 19. There's a little bit of contact there with the 23. Now watch the 19 and the 70 go down to the middle. The 23 just tries to follow and gets finished off by the 5. The 4 gets involved in it as well. The 8 might have gotten some damage. Brian Tarnowski had nowhere to go.
It's a chain reaction at that point, right, Frank? I mean, when you're that close to, when you're inches apart at 190 miles an hour, and all it takes is one person to go somewhere that he thought he had, 2 inches and he only had a half, and that's it. And instantly, everyone, 5 to 10 positions, if not more, on back here can be caught. And a lot of trucks didn't sustain a little bit of damage, in that incident there on the racetrack, but certainly could have been, as you said, could have been a lot worse.
There's the 01 of Matt Mackin getting caught up in it. Let's take a look. We already saw the replay from onboard Brian Tarnowski. This is inside his car. Watch how little reaction he has to seeing this 14 coming across his nose here, and had no idea. So that will be caution number 2 on the night for known incidents. Caution number 3 overall. Kenneth Bishop in the 14.
Which is still low by Mike.
Yeah, absolutely is. Stephen Kiefer on pit road. Kenneth Bishop, Matt Mackin down pit road. The 14 and the 01 repairing damage from just a moment ago.
Yeah, Matt Mackin got... Sorry to cut you off there, Frank, but Matt Mackin got macked on that deal in front of his Toyota as he sits on pit road right now. That has substantial damage to the front grille, right where the radiator is going to take all of its cold air from. And that might cost him a fast repair. Hopefully he has one left in the tank.
The 70 of Eugenio Alonso gets the free pass under this caution. However, it will be the 8 that will get a wave around under this caution as well. So both the 70 and the 8, who were major players earlier on in this race, were caught a lap down after the incident on lap 39. They are back on the lead lap, and they've got about 30, I would say maybe 28 laps or so to get back up to the front, which is just inside the pit cycle for a non-green-white checkered finish.
Yeah, that's certainly going to make it interesting there. As you said, non-green-white checkered finish. So if we have to go to overtime, that's really going to make things interesting. But we already know that 8 was bad fast, Frank. We watched him basically just march and triumph his way up through the field before disaster unfolded on the racetrack. You know, comers and goers, right? We've seen that 8 up there early on. He got caught in some misfortunes and some miscues out there on the racetrack. But now this is the equalizer. This gets everyone potentially like the 8 and company. The other gentleman, I forget exactly who he was. He also got the wave around. So the 70's back on the lead lap. The 8 is now back on the lead lap. This changes the complexion of the race once again. And we're going to have to strap in, pull those belts tight one more time as we're 70, working lap 70 right now, and look for that intensity to keep building to the next level. Do you think these guys can go 30 laps, Frank, without seeing another caution? Can they do it? Can they run it out? What do you think?
From the way we have seen these guys run here tonight, I would say yes, but these last 30 laps mean a heck of a lot more than the first 30 laps, and we've already seen these guys start to get 3 wide. As we will take a look at, we'll reset the field here. John Garrett and Alex Princeton will lead off from the front row. Kevin Hayes and Sean Wilder in row 2. Wyatt Fink and Dana Shepard in row 3. Row 4, we'll see the 03 of Ken Ron and Corey Coe, with Dustin Logston and Dave Regal in row number 5 here for this restart. Pace truck is off. 30 laps to go when we take the green flag here tonight. Is really keeping them down. Green flag in the air. 30 laps to go here from Talladega.
Like you said, Frank, let's close this one out in the history books tonight. 30 laps to go as the 66 of John Garrett takes him to the green flag, and he's going to be pushing the loud pedal through the floorboard of that truck out there on the racetrack. That Silverado has been racing all night tonight. He's also been committed to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's currently where he works right now, in very close proximity. He's got a ton of help from the 3s. He took a peek outside. He's going to tuck back in behind this. He's going to get one back of a push. Oh, gets a little loose there. That can happen sometimes. A little air gets tucked there behind the spoiler, or that that diffuser on the race truck there, and sometimes just make it a little light in the back. That can happen, but we march on forward. How about the 19 of Alex Princeton? He was fast in practice, if you remember, Frank. He had a bad, fast truck. Well, his truck's bad, fast right now is he's getting a lot of help there from the 60, I'm sorry, the 91 of, that's Sean Wilder. Wild man, wild thing out there on the racetrack, still holding tough on the outside.
Princeton was the fastest car, or fastest truck, I should say, in the practice session, as Wilder looking to the inside, looking to the middle, does not commit to a move. A little bit of a lag spike there for the 19 of Princeton. That has happened to him a couple of times tonight. Dana Shepard lined up on that outside with Corey Coe just behind. Another driver that we were talking about earlier being a lap down, Phil Manzo in the 38, up inside the top 10 right now, plus 26 from where he started earlier tonight.
Don't look now, but how about SRM's own Dave Regal, a.k.a. the Beagle? He is up to 11th position. He's got a little bit of damage on the passenger side of that race truck from an earlier incident, but he has been consistent and been patient, and he's currently running in the 11th and 12th position right now.
It's been a quiet night for Dave Regal as the caution comes out. Quite sure where the caution falls again.
Yeah, that's what I started searching for, Frank. As soon as I seen the caution flag come out on the racetrack, I didn't see, any smoke. I didn't see any anyone sliding or any around the racetrack or any avoidance on the racetrack. Try to figure out where this caution flag stemmed from.
Yeah, didn't see anyone drop a good amount of speed. Didn't see anyone free fall positions. So looks like caution number 4 on the night. 2 unidentified cautions, 2 very much identified cautions, as Alex Princeton leads the way.
Yeah, with the caution flags, it's been very obvious or potentially supernatural.
We'll take a look. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the JDRF 250 here from Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. 3/4 distance gone, 25 laps to go, under caution for the 4th time tonight. About to go back to green flag racing here at Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. The Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation 250 here at Talladega, a charity race to close out the calendar year of 2022. If you're just joining us, thank you very much for being a part of this evening. Still plenty of time to look down in the description of this video. We do have two links, one for the JDRF One Walk donation charity for that special event, and then to donate to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation right below that as well. So two places where you can donate. I believe at last check we've already raised a good $700 or $800 here tonight. Would love to raise some more. We haven't had that check. We haven't had a check on the donation amount since we got started here tonight, and that was it seems like a while ago, as we currently work lap number 25 with 25 laps to go, 24 when we go green here. Matt, take us away.
All right, Frank, as you said, working lap 76 in the book. That iRacing.com pace truck's going to make that hard right down pit road. So here we go. Let's re-rack them, restack them one more time. At the 19 of Alex Princeton, he was fastest in practice. He is fast right now on the racetrack. That Toyota TRD Racing Tundra gets ready to go through the Geico restart zone, and he stands on the gas pedal. Gets a big shot lead out in front, and that's exactly what you don't want to do here at Talladega. That's great at any other racetrack, but that's going to allow the outside lane, the 66 of John Garrett, the 43 and company, to get a good run. But thank God the 91 was back there, a Sean Wildman Wilder, to pick up the 19. But they're still not going to get enough steam, I don't think, built up, Frank. Oh, they do. They get a heck of a run down the backstretch, are able to overtake the 66 and the 43 as they drag race coming into turn 3 and 4.
Top 7 got a very good, the top 4, I should say, got a very good restart. The next 3 kind of lagged a little bit behind, and then after that it was pretty much a guess as to who got a good restart. The top 7 now are being joined by 8th, 9th, and 10th, as now here comes the rest of the field starting to work its way back up. Alex Princeton in the Tide Ride, number 19, leading that inside line. John Garrett, who's been in the top 5 virtually all night tonight, running on the outside line, leading that lane, being pushed by Dana Shepard, who has been up towards the front here tonight for a vast majority of this race as well. A couple of guys we haven't spoken about too much. Dustin Logston in the 12, showing number 54 on the side of his truck. Dave Regal up here as well, running in 6th position, the highest that SRM machine has been tonight.
Yeah, Dave Regal sporting the SRM colors on board with on board with that paint scheme tonight. He is up to the 6th place position, using that steady Eddie, as I like to call it, just making his way slowly but surely throughout the field tonight. And he's put himself in a heck of a position right there, just about in the catbird seat, right where you want to be, you know, as you're coming to 20 laps to go till we sign this one off in the history books. Right. But one thing I did notice, if you go back up to the front of the field with John Garrett, he's back down to the bottom of the racetrack. On that restart, the first couple laps, he was working that high side. I thought maybe he was going to try to work some new strategy with the 43 up there. Got a couple, Dana Shepard, couple different faces we haven't seen up front, near the front in a little bit of time since we first dropped this green flag. But the 66, that Silverado, is strong out in front in clean air. It seems like once he gets a lead, it's hard to take it from him.
Starting to get a little bit wild here in the back of this field. That is the 03 on the bottom. They were 3 wide there for a moment. Chris Hubka still trying to work his way back up through this field. There he is in the number 5. Kevin Hayes came in under this most recent caution flag to top off on fuel to set himself up in a good position for a green-white checkered. He is now trying to work his way through the field. Another driver that we haven't seen up towards the top 10 in a little bit, Lauren Jones in that Cheetos number 11 machine, starting to work his way forward as well, as is the 8, who just got back on the lead lap not that long ago. And another driver that we haven't mentioned in quite some time, still not on the lead lap just yet. Nathaniel Dents in the 73 starting to work his way up as well.
So we're having another installment of comers and goers, if you will. But one thing that's, got me wondering just a little bit, Frank, the 5 of Hogba, he's been up front contending in the top 4 all night long. He now finds himself back in 13th position. This is the furthest back that I think I've seen him all night tonight, as he's currently working with the 4 to 3 out there on the racetrack. Again, he hasn't been back to the front yet. He hasn't shown he's been able to do that with the race truck. One of the disadvantages of running up front all night, yes, being up front is great, but at plate tracks, there always seems to be that greater tendency where something happens on the racetrack or you don't execute on pit road and you get mired towards the back.
Oh!
We haven't seen
big hit. Caution coming out.
Oh my! And there they go.
The 70 of Eugenio Alonso, the 21 of Dave Regal. I believe that might have started with a bad push off the outside lane.
Yeah, that was a bad push. That went wicked in a hurry.
Looked like Dana Shepard was the one that got turned down towards the middle line. Outside line was starting to get the run. As we'll take a look and see what happened here. The outside line, there's a push from the 70. And then another one to the corner. And that's what sent, oh my goodness. I want to talk about getting stopped dead in your tracks.
Yeah, if you were a cat, all 9 lives are gone right there in an instant.
Yeah, unfortunately, riding on board with the 43 now. So you got the one bump there, and just once again getting bumped around just a little bit, riding on board this time with Dave Regal. He's going to have no time to react to this. Just again, turns to the inside, and Regal doesn't end up too bad out of this. It's mostly everyone behind him that gets caught up in it.
Yeah, I thought Regal was going to have a lot more damage, and granted, it looks like he's been off-road Baja in his truck if you look at the passenger side and the driver's side of his machine. But the front fascia of that truck is very clean. He had a little bit of damage to the tailgate and the spoiler section, but I think he still has a fast repair. I don't think he's used it yet.
Robinson Nixon, the 38 of Manzo, around the 111 of Watkinson, upside down. Couple of guys really getting beaten around in this one.
Yeah, thank God for the AI Newman bar, because when you're on your roof like that, that's never fun.
It's on board with John Crow Sr. here. He's the one that got turned down into by the 21. Down to the inside, and there's the 111 just righting itself again. So 5 cautions, 3 for known incidents. Once again, it is John Garrett that will lead the way as the 20 of Stephen Kiefer. Getting the wave around here. And this is the first time the 20 has actually had a shot at the win here since he spun and overshot pit road on the very first round of pit stops on, I want to say, around lap 31, 32.
Yeah, that was the very first pit sequence of the race. And when everyone kind of tried to squeeze inside the commitment code there on pit road, and he took a ride through the grass. But yeah, like you said, Frank, he's going to have an opportunity here to take that wave around, and he's going to have an opportunity here now to dogfight it out with these guys. as we potentially go back to green with 86 laps to go.
Another driver we haven't spoken about too much here tonight. The 24 of Caleb McCarthy coming off of pit road after fixing some crash damage. The driver out in the front. Dave Regal, we saw how hard that contact was to the right side of that truck as the 43 came down. Side panels appear to be straight on that truck there, Matt. It just seems like the back end is a little bit more of a U shape than it was earlier on tonight.
Yeah, it looked like it got C-stamped, but like a metal press when you in the
Yep.
in the. But hey, that'll help with a little extra downforce, hopefully.
You would think. I mean, I remember the year, I want to say it was 2011 at Martinsville, that one year that Mark Martin had the back bumper of that car completely ripped off. And he was about a half a second quicker than everyone else, it seemed like, after that happened.
Yeah, I remember the controversy that was swarming after the race, that they were trying to say they designed the car to break apart like that for an advantage. And you and I both know that was just a racing deal. That's just, that was aftermath of the accident. But I remember how fast that car was. You couldn't touch it.
Unfortunately for Eugenio Alonso, he was a part of that incident as well. So all of the effort he had to get back on the lead lap all goes for naught. Finn Robinson back with a fresh new car, a late fast repair used for the 34, the 11 fixing some damage coming out of pit road there. Now we're getting to the point here where drivers that pit on lap 68, which at least right now are the top 6 and 9 drivers in the top 10 all came into pit on lap 68. These guys are getting pretty comfortable now to at least make one green-white checkered attempt without having to worry about coming into pit.
Yeah, because I believe under pace speed, you're going to get basically for every green flag lap, you're going to get about 2 miles per gallon. At pace speed, they're going to, that's going to basically double itself, if I remember correctly. So you're absolutely right, Frank. These guys that came in a little sooner than later are now going to have some breathing room in case we do go into overtime, at least for the first round. The second round, as it stands right now, unless we see some more caution laps enter the mix, we're going to have to come down pit road. But at least they're good for one round of overtime as they stand right now.
John Garrett and Corey Coe on the front row here for this restart. 15 laps to go here from Talladega, back underway.
Yeah, back underway one more time we go. You know who's leading the way, the 66 machine of John Garrett. Of course, he's working the bottom side of the racetrack. Home sweet comfort zone for him. It's been all race long. Eaton on the bottom side, working in close proximity with the 19 of Princeton, your fastest truck on the racetrack from your early practice round today. The 91 working really tight with the 9 up front. He's going to get a good push of steam down the backstretch. The 66 and the 19 are going to mirror their effort, as the 8 and 91 or the 9 and 91 are going to get a little bit of about a half truck ahead, but they get broken up just a little bit. That draft gets broken as they enter the corner, and the 66 and the 91 should be able to surge ahead as they come back down the front stretch.
Sean Wilder trying to push that 9 of Coe up to the front. He had it done for a moment, but the inside line came back together. John Garrett, Alex Princeton, Dylan Bryant up into the top 5. Boy, it didn't take him long to get that Pepsi number 8 Toyota Tundra up into a fighting position. Chris Hubka up there as well. Just moved from the 4th car on the inside lane. Now he's the 4th car on the outside lane, swinging in front of Dave Regal. The 03 of Kevin Ron filling his slot on the inside line. Outside gets a good run coming out of turn 2. However, going into turn 3, it'll start to fall back to John Garrett's way on the inside.
Don't look now, but where did Mr. Heat come from? Dylan Bryant driving like Mad Max. If that was the Pepsi Max paint scheme on that car, are you kidding me? This man is now in 5th position. If these front runners, I'm a spotter. I'm telling the 66, the 9, the 19 that this 8 is coming. You guys got to get into battle mode right now because he means business, Frank.
I would say the only other driver that can compete as far as the sheer power of their car here tonight with the 8 has been the 66. He has been the only one that has gotten to the front and has stayed there really at no real stress. That 8 has been a lap down. He's had to go through the field. 3 wide starting to form now as that's Dustin Logston leading the outside line, and wouldn't you know, it's Nathan Nixon pushing him along.
Yep, let's throw another catalyst into the mix, and that's that outside on the top side of the racetrack getting formed up, and they're going to try to see if they can get some synergy movement on the top side of the racetrack. But getting back to the front of the field, that 66 is still holding tough. I think the best strategy for the 66, Frank, is to see that 19 machine, that Toyota TRD Tundra of Sean Wilder, the 19 of Alex Princeton, between him and that 8 truck, because we know how fast that TRD machine is. That 8 pushing the 19 and the 66 is probably best case scenario, but the 9's going to come down. If you run from company on the top side of the racetrack, make this 3 wide at the front.
Corey Coe moving from the middle to the inside line. That leaves Sean Wilder free with Wyatt Fink behind him in the 63. Around goes the 98. More cautions. More cars having issues. Chris Claude around. Nathan Nixon around. Kevin Hayes getting into it as well. Caution coming out just outside of 10 to go.
Yeah, someone went space shuttle status on that one, Frank. But how many times have we seen it? We said the intensity was going to pick up, and boy, did it pick up in a hurry. That outside lane finally got formed up within seconds. Hakpa and a few other of the drivers on the top side of the racetrack, they were right there. I mean, it was literally 3 lanes battling for the win or for the lead until that caution flag came out.
Like the 21 of Dave Regal might have come up and caught the side of the 98 of Nathan Nixon. We'll take a look at this. Focusing on the 10 of Chris Claude. Boy, that was net code there with how quick and how violent that 98 snapped sideways. Just spoke about the 24 of Kayla McCarthy getting involved there. The 11 too. There's the 3. Take a ride on board with Kevin Hayes in the 3. There's the contact plus the net code. Pushes the 3 right up into the fence. A little jolt forward. At least that first one there was from the 24. And I think that might have been, once again, the 87 of Smith. 28 of Tarnowski catches a piece of it. Yep, that was the 87 of Smith there. So now, an interesting collection of cars deciding to come down pit road. Dave Regal, Chris Claude, Kayla McCarthy, John Crow, Nathan Nixon down pit road once again. A lot of drivers down pit road, and this is why, this is the good thing about having one fast repair, is you get one free mulligan. But unfortunately, coming down to the end of these races, it's going to take one. It's going to take more often than not than just one.
Yeah, but some of these guys are probably wishing they had 3 or 4 fast repairs at this point, as just chaos and carnage has broken out during the last half of this race, particularly the last 20 laps or so. But, you know, Frank, we're running out of time here. We're currently working lap 91. Yep. This race, I mean, time is running out. It's running out in a hurry. You know, by the time these guys come down pit road is a very hot commodity right now, I might add. You weren't kidding. They get these guys re-racked, restacked one more time. You know, we may have.
Might cut out there for a moment, Matt. I believe you were getting ready to say we're going to have about 7 or 8 laps to go. Once we go back to green flag racing here, Corey Coe in the race lead, Sean Wilder second, John Garrett third. Wyatt Fink is the highest he's been tonight in fourth. Alex Princeton in the number 19 running in fifth. Chris Hubka in sixth. Dustin Logston, Dylan Bryant, Ken Ron, and Richard Knight. Your current top 10 as we get inside the last handful of laps.
I apologize for that, Mike miscue. My son decided I wasn't giving him a proper amount of attention.
Oh, well, there you go.
Matters into his own hands.
And as we work under this caution here, we're going to bring in somebody here who helped get SRM working with Jack Dowel Motorsports and working with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation here for this race. Our very own James Riles. James, welcome into the booth here.
Hey, I'm really glad to be here, and I wouldn't be here without the help of Michael Eden. That's just what I wanted to come out and shout out. I've been working with him on Facebook. When he connected with us, John Bawalda from Jack Dowel Motorsports said, hey, please get with this guy, make this broadcast happen, and I am just absolutely thrilled to be able to help out Haley and JDRF. If you guys can, this is the last time we'll ask, please get out your wallets, pay for a cup of coffee. Instead, don't have that energy drink today. Go to that website, the description, and get that charitable tax donation in. It's there for a reason. You can claim it on your taxes, get that money back. But we do appreciate every single one of you, and I appreciate you, Frank and Matt, for helping putting this thing together and running it. I have just been absolutely blown away with the amount of support we've got for JDRF and everybody here.
It has been an absolutely incredible night as we take a ride on board the 18 right now. There's Haley on the front of the car. We saw Haley give the command as well here tonight. Earlier on this evening is unfortunately the 18 not necessarily in a position to win this race. However, certainly has put on a valiant effort here at Talladega as we get ready to work the final 8 laps of this race, Matt. Once again, Corey Coe out in front.
Yeah, and there's another twist, if you will. Corey Coe, I mean, that man, that 9 machine, he's been up towards the front all night tonight. We just haven't seen him in the number 1 position, leading him to the green flag. So now we're going to kind of switch things up a little bit. The 66 of John Garrett, he's going to be on the inside, but he's going to line up in P2. I'm sorry, P3 with the 91 on the outside. The 63 is going to be behind him. But all eyes right now, at least my eyes, are going to be on Mad Max, a.k.a. Dylan Bryant in that 8 truck. Does he have enough time as we go back to the green flag racing out here at Talladega, working lap 93, Frank?
Boy, Sean Wilder wasted absolutely no time getting down to that inside line in between the 9 and the 66. Wilder leaving that 63 of Wyatt Fink out to dry, and there is a massive gap between the top 15 and the rest of the field. Chris Claude, the last driver, really hanging on to this front group. Nathan Nixon, a good 3.5 seconds behind and falling, as some guys did not get a great restart. Others may not have caught up. However, there is a lot of damaged trucks running around this racetrack right now.
Yeah, and those damaged race trucks, that's going to increase the drag, and that's going to be like an air brake on that truck and just not allow them to run at speed, what we're seeing at the front of the pack. I wonder if that was a strategy play from Wild Thing, a.k.a. Sean Wilder, the 91, when he came out and split the difference between the 9 and the 66 at John Garrett. I mean, he hung that man up around like a stale Christmas cookie.
First time leading a line for the 03 of Ken Ron. Gets into the side of the 19 as we ride on board with this Corn Pops machine. As guys getting very, very close to each other here in this front group.
Yeah, speaking of that, I about had to catch my breath. I almost had a heart attack. The 9 of Corey Coe came up, and the 91 wasted no time in turning that Silverado down to the bottom side of the racetrack. I thought there was going to be a spin and a big one at the front of the field, but these guys get it sorted out, and now they're trying to do it again, Frank. They're trying to get those 3 lines working again, and guess who's on the top side with absolutely almost no help? The 8 of Dylan Bryant is making the top side work. He's going to lead the charge on the top side of the racetrack as we're currently working lap 95.
Dylan Bryant gained about 2 or 3 positions just by 1 run on that outside line. Now has Chris Hubka for help up on the outside, pardon me.
Yeah, he's going to be up on the outside of the racetrack, like you said, and he's going to have Chris Hockba behind him, pushing him, but going back to the front. The 9 machine still continues to carry the torch around this 2.66 mile megaplex, aka Superspeedway, right here in Talladega, Alabama. But here he comes, the 66 machine, John Garrett. He's going to flip-flop. He's going to work the the middle line of the racetrack as that top side starts to form up again. It's going to be a game of cat and mouse right now. What line's going to have the energy? Who's going to be the tightest? Is it going to be the inside line? Is it going to be the middle line? Can the top get just a little bit more help? The 8 and the 23 the 63 are up top, trying everything to make it work, and they are kind of hanging there with the second group of cars high on the outside of the racetrack with little to minimal help.
Contact! Around goes the 03, the 8 in the fence as well, the 63 and the 20, both around.
And he skyrockets into the air, is going to do an endo and come back down on the racetrack, potentially ending the 8's charge towards the front. This is plate racing, folks. You guys watching at home, I hope you guys are strapped in and buckled in, because we certainly are up here in the SRM booth. And it has just gotten wild here at Talladega as once again tumultuous wreck ensues. As we are currently on lap 97. The 9 gets through clean, as we can see here from TV camera 1.
It's just the 4 cars on the outside line really caught that, as it appeared to be a little bit of contact as the 03, the 5. There was another car in that mix, just kind of coming together. Take a look and see here, focusing on the 03 of Ken Ron. There's the contact. It might have been the 23 as well, but was just getting ready to say the 20 for the first time here tonight, really getting up there, getting into a chance to win this race. Here they come. Oh, that was a wiggle and then net code once again. And you're going to get a lot of net code, especially in a field as big as this. Let's ride on board here with the 63 of Wyatt Fink. See, there's the quote-unquote nudge, and then there you saw that big snap there at the back of that, at the back end of that. That was the net code sending the 03 around.
Yeah, that rubber band type snap action, that's the net code you're referring to, correct, Frank?
Yes. Yeah. Take a
Yeah,
look
it's
at
very
this on board of Stephen Kiefer. Go ahead.
Now, it's so unfortunate for these guys that had just gotten back on the lead lap, got back into contention. You know, they were mounting a charge, but sometimes, I mean, that's just racing. This is one of these racing deals. This is classic Talladega, and it's a byproduct of this high-octane racing that we all love. But you hate it for these guys that, you know, work so hard and diligently tonight with their teams out there on the racetrack. to get themselves back into position, but sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles.
This will now be the first official attempt at a green-white checkered finish. Matt, on your end, I believe you have the number of how many green-white checkered finishes we are going to have, green-white checkered attempts that we're going to have here tonight at the conclusion of this lap, I'm sure.
So it looks
Usually
like
it's 3.
we're going to have a maximum of, that is correct, Frank. We have 3 maximum green-white checkered attempts here to close this one out tonight. We talked about it a little earlier in that last caution segment. So some of these guys that came down pit road a little sooner than the rest of the guys out there on the racetrack, I believe we said they were going to be good for 1 green-white checkered, so 1 round of overtime. Obviously, this caution here is going to help them out a little bit, but I don't think with these pace laps it's going to get them through 2, because typically, as you know, Frank, at Talladega or any super speedway, typically one green-white checkered is not enough.
See there on your screen the top 10 the drivers in the top 10 and what lap they came into pit on. Kayla McCarthy, some you're not seeing numbers for. The top 5 currently came into pit on lap 68. Richard Knight's last pit stop was 74. Kayla McCarthy in 7th. Her last stop was back on lap 90. Jason Dents, the 28, last came into pit on lap 74. Chris Claude in the 10, running in 9th, last came into pit on lap 90. And Dave Regal in the 21 last came into pit on lap 91. So there are plenty of drivers here that do know that they can make it more than 1 green-white checkered attempt. However, there's just as many that know they probably can't make 3 green-white checkered attempts.
Yeah, so this is where it gets interesting. The smoke is probably billowing off that crew chief sitting on top of the pit box. What do you do here, Frank? If you know you can't make it more than 1 green-white checkered, do you look at historical data and say, well, trends say we're probably going to have 2. Do you come down pit road now, or do you run the first one, and then if there's a second one, you come down pit road and fuel then? What do you do? What's the strategy call here?
You come over the in-game chat and say, I'm going to beat up whoever causes the next caution. At least that's what I would do.
That's one.
That's probably the route Corey Coe is going right now. And also worth noting that there are a couple of guys up here that have taken their fast repairs just recently. The 24 of Kayla McCarthy has taken a fast repair. That Toyota Tundra is clean. The 21 of Dave Regal was caught out by that awkward restart the last time around. He now has a clean truck as well. So does the 85 of David Swift, really up here for the first time tonight. However, there are plenty of damaged trucks. You see the 20 and the 10 there as well. There are drivers here that are going to be fighting for this win fairly heavily as we come down to the first of 3 green-white checkered restarts.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, the 73 looks like it had a cheese grater taken to the front of it. But as you said, we're getting ready here to kick off into overtime number 1. Frank, I'll let you take these green, sir.
There it is, green flag in the air. Corey Coe getting a nice push from that 91, the 66 of John Garrett. Getting a better push, though, from Alex Princeton on the outside. Hupka moves from the bottom to the top. Kayla McCarthy fills the hole in the 24. 23 goes from the top to the bottom. Now on that inside lane, the 28 of Jason Dents. 4th car on the outside line.
Yep, on the outside line, and also coming into the picture, SRM's own Dave Regal. He's cracked the top 10, currently in the 10th position. He's got a clean race truck used as quick repair recently, and that truck looked for him to be fast as we try to close this one out. But back up front, that's where the action is on the racetrack. The 9, the 66, John Garrett, he's now on the high side of the racetrack. The 9 is on the bottom side. Who's got the better dance partner? Who's got the better pusher? Is it 91 of Sean Wilder, Wild Thing, or is it the 19 of Alex Princeton? We both know all those guys are fast and have been up here tonight. But how about Chris Hockbell working his way back into the picture? He's currently running inside the top 5 in 4th position on the high side of the racetrack.
11 trucks with an immediate chance at winning this race. Guys starting to get really pushy. Around goes the 23 and the 5 in it as well. Make it 9. The 66 of John Garrett on the inside line now, getting pushed by Corey Coe, looking for the race win. The 19 of Alex Princeton stuck on the outside alone. Here comes a push from the 24 of McCarthy. The 66 has to choose a lane. The 66 is going to get split. It's going to be between the 9 and the 19. It's going to be on the outside lane. It's going to be Alex Princeton by 4/100ths of a second, taking the win here at the JDRF 250 at Talladega.
Oh, Frank, and that's how Talladega should be coming down to the line. You don't know which way they're going to go. You think you know, you just don't know. And my gosh, how do you finish? That's the best way you can finish out a race for a good cause. You didn't know who was going to win it until it came down to the line. 100ths of a second separate them. Big shout out to the I'm actually seeing the 19 is being scored. Yep. is the winner of Alex Princeton. But how about that finish, Frank, and that raw racing action at the front of the field? You wouldn't expect anything but, would you?
High Line wins the day here tonight, as it is Alex Princeton, the fastest driver in practice, sat for the first half of the race towards the back of the field, did not get caught up in any major kerfuffles tonight, finds himself up at the front of the field when he needed to be there, and takes the race win here tonight. Corey Coe, who was leading on that final restart, coming home in the second position. How about Kayla McCarthy? Was absolutely nowhere all night long, took a fast repair on that pit stop that she had on lap 90, comes home in third. What a run for that 24. Working on getting drivers into a position here where they can be interviewed.
Yeah, but I couldn't agree with you more, Frank. That 24 machine, Kyler McCarthy, I mean, that's, what I talk about, just putting yourself in the right place at the right time and just, and making the right moves on the racetrack. And she comes home P3, podium finish for her. I mean, that team should be proud. I mean, that was a heck of a performance from that 24 crowd.
So as we work on getting these drivers into the proper spots here, we'll actually start with our third place finisher here tonight. Coming through, Kayla McCarthy, our third place finisher here tonight. What a run after staying about as calm as you could during the race, coming through at the end to finish on the podium.
Yeah, I tell you what, this race was all about, being out of the wrecks, and there was a couple that we almost got a piece of. Had it not been there at the end for one of those wrecks, I probably would have still had my fast repair, but I'm glad I was able to push Alex to the win there at the end. This was a heck of a night, heck of a fun race to be a part of.
Now I'm seeing Kayla McCarthy in iRacing, and now I've got Kyler McCarthy in the chat. Which one is it?
No, it's Kyler. It's Kyler.
Okay. So it was, again, just quite a race, as you mentioned, just trying to stay out of trouble. How did you decide to go with the line that you went with there on that last restart?
I was thinking that they were going to wreck, so I rode the bottom right up until about middle of 3 and 4, and then they didn't. They wrecked a little bit on the backstretch, and then when they didn't wreck even more where I was at 3 and 4, and Alex was on the top side by himself, I knew I was going to have a heck of a run, and I could shove him it was going to be really close. I'm glad that it was able to work out the way it did. So just gut instincts and being in there at the end.
Well, Kyler, usually as far as our interviews go, this is usually where we would ask you what are you going to be what are you going to be looking forward to most for the race next week? But I guess we'll go with what are your racing plans for 2023, and not that bad a way to close out 2022.
No, not a bad way to close out 2022. We still got a couple more races, league races to run between Saturday and actually just Saturday, and then as far as 2023 goes, we'll start making that iRacing grind and make a push for the road to pro again. See what we can't do for that and go from there.
All right, Kyler. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to all my sponsors. Mid-Cities Air Conditioning, Nitro set up shop for everything they do for me. Russ, all the guys over there at Nitro. But first and foremost, my wife for allowing me to put the time in to do this and take the time away for her. So it's a lot, so I appreciate it.
All right, bud. Congratulations on a third place finish here tonight. Enjoy.
Thanks, guys.
And with that, we will move now to the second place waiting room here, where we will have. Waiting for Matt to come up here, but I guess we'll go with this one. Corey Coe. Corey, leading on the restart, unfortunately got passed up there towards the end, but still had a shot at winning this. What was that last lap like from your perspective?
Well, I need to see how much teeth I have left because I was grinding the hell out of them. This was fun. I mean, a few cautions expected, 100 laps. The guys actually drove phenomenal. I mean, it was a well calculated race for most of the drivers, and that's something you don't get often on super speedway. So we're happy with that.
How difficult was it to try to move around? You were talking about how clean this race was, and how difficult was it to move through the field? Because we saw a lot of slicing and dicing, but everyone was doing it the way you needed to in order to keep a good race going.
I think it was a little bit of a combination of both. I think everybody wanted to respect one another, and you could tell that just like it's supposed to, it heated up as it got later on, and people were starting to make some more aggressive moves, and the cream rises to the top. And I think Alex shown that he was solid all night, and got to tip my cap to him. But I'd like to give a shout out to my pit stall boys. I mean, they told me about this race, and Sean put up the money for me to race in it, and great calls, and I have no problem supporting it. Might throw a little extra to it, and appreciate you guys broadcasting it.
Now, we had said with Kyler there, this is typically the part of the interview session where we ask you what do you think going into next week, but I guess we'll expand on that. What do you think going into to next year? What are your plans for 2023? Corey?
Oh, sorry about that. Lost my button. My apologies. Man, I tell you what, just building in my faith and try to get better on some tracks that I'm not really good at as far as iRacing is concerned, and certain cars that I don't normally drive. I just recently jumped into Super Late Model Series type cars, and really having fun with that with the Pit Stall Series. And outside of that, just loving family and loving the Lord and just moving forward.
All right, but anyone you want to thank before we let you go and celebrate a second place finish tonight?
I got to thank Sean Wilder and just for him and introducing me to this crew, and Tim Lee for the Pit Stall Series, leading me on this path to be around guys like this. And yeah, man, just the iRacing community, man, it's a lot more giving, and it is a loving group when you get around guys like this. They really are charitable, and it's a sight to behold, and it's much appreciative.
All right, bud. Best of luck to you in 2023. Congratulations on a second place finish here tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a great New Year.
You as well. And we'll move now to our winner of the race here tonight, Alex Princeton. Alex, what a run to come up big when you needed to. Went to that third lane instead of pushing the 66, and that would have been the race-winning move for you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I can't believe it. I kind of figured the 66 was going to dunk in front of his teammates there. I know those three were running together, and I kind of got pushed out wide, and then he ducked down, and I'm like, oh, I just need to hang on here. And I knew I had some help coming with Kyler. I knew he was going to be coming, and I just hoped I could hold my momentum until he got to me and gave us a huge push there.
Well, it certainly was a great run, and again, the fastest in the practice session was very, very good in the draft earlier on. How much of a boost is it? I know it doesn't mean much because it's Talladega or Daytona or wherever, but being fastest in practice on a superspeedway, how much momentum or confidence does that give you coming into a race?
Maybe a little bit. I think a lot of it just has to do with knowing how you got there. Me and Ken Ron were working together, and we had an amazing run on a group of like three guys. So that was why we were like a half second faster there. But I really didn't know what I had till I got caught up with Eugenio there somewhere at that point. Me and him got caught up there, and got a lap down. And I had to get my lap back, and that's kind of when I realized, I could kind of work the traffic pretty well, and I could push really well. I just wasn't sure how I could do out front.
All right, bud. And again, typically this is where we would ask, what do you think going into the next race, into next week? But what are your plans going into 2023 and after a very successful end, I would say, to 2022?
Yeah, first I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Mikey and John for putting this thing on, and everyone who came on and supported this great cause. I got a couple friends that had diabetes as a kid, and it's really touching to me, and I'm so happy I was able to do this for them, and it's great to see a great crowd out like this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the SNN season and the 100% Cup Series season. Don't know how much truck rides I'll do, but I might try a few more now.
Yeah, one heck of a finish here for you tonight. Anyone else you want to thank before we let you go and celebrate this win?
Kind of my whole group I worked with tonight, but especially Kyler there. He really saved us. He gave us a huge push there, got me the win, got him third, I believe. So wouldn't be here without him or really any of my team tonight. They all helped me out.
All right, bud. Congratulations. Soak this one in. Congratulations.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And that will pretty much do it for us here tonight. And as we wait for Matt to jump up into this chat room here, it's been one heck of a race here tonight. But not only that, it's been one heck of a year. Not just on iRacing, but for sim racing media. It came to about as good an end as you could have possibly asked for.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, Frank. As we close out this year, 2022, as you know, I came a part of the SRM family this year, and I've been thankful for every moment working with all you guys and having the opportunity to cover such fantastic racing up here in the booth. You couldn't have, like you said, you couldn't have closed 2022 out in a more epic fashion, in my opinion. That racing we saw tonight was just next level. Entertainment, excitement. It had drama. Everything you ever wanted in a race we had tonight. And to cap it all off, it was for a great cause. And I know we also raised a decent amount of money tonight. I don't have the final tally on it. Maybe you do. But I also know we knocked it out of the ballpark there as well.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I do not have the final tally available. And speaking of which, again, if you're watching this video if you're watching this race back months later, be sure to go down in the description. While the first link for the JDRF One Walk is a special event, while that link may expire, the one below it for to donate to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, that one certainly and unfortunately will not expire. You can give at any time to such a fantastic cause, and we thank them very, very much for coming on board here to sponsor tonight's race. And really quick, we'll take a look now at the final results here for tonight's race to close out this calendar year. Alex Princeton, Corey Coe, and Kyler McCarthy rounding out your podium finishers. We've heard from those three. Sean Wilder and John Garrett rounding out your top five. Dave Regal, Jason Dentz, Chris Claude, David Swift, and Chris Hubka rounding out your top 10. Nathaniel Dentz, John Crow, Nathan Nixon, Dylan Bryant, Stephen Kiefer, your top 15. Richard Knight, Mark Brewster, Andrew Smith, Wyatt Fink, and Ken Ron, your top 20. Kenneth Bishop, Dustin Logston, Michael Eden, Randy Lapidus, Phil Manzo, there it is, Brian Tarnowski, Lauren Jones, Kevin Hayes, Warren Young, and Finn Robinson coming home in your top 30. Eugenio Alonso, Dana Shepard, Gene Watkinson, Matt Mackin, and Bob Nestor rounding out your top 35. Tony Burt and Mike Sabanovsky rounding out the drivers to finish the race here tonight and to finish off the 2022 year here on Sim Racing Media. Well, folks, that will do it for us here tonight for this year, the final broadcast of 2022. And for me, my final broadcast in my 20s, as I'll be turning 30 tomorrow. We wish you all a happy new year, a remainder of your holiday season. For my broadcast partner, Matt Metler. Oh my goodness, Matt Metler. I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight and this entire year, and we look forward to seeing you in 2023. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.